Calling to order the Joint Committee of Higher Ed and Ways and Means. We're going to hear this morning from the university system who's going to present their supplemental budget request. So good morning.
Morning, David Lassner, President of UH, good to see you members and chairs. Happy New Year. I'm here with Vice President for Budget and Finance and CFO Calbert Young. Here we also have our UH Vice Presidents, our chancellors representing all of the campuses.
We can introduce
and
them.
assorted support staff.
You want to introduce them?
Well, they're all hoping they don't get called on. So.
Yeah, so
Most importantly, I have Regent Abercrombie here with me today
Yeah.
from government.
Yeah. But I thought we asked the chair of regents to attend as well.
I believe he was invited at 3 p.m. yesterday, and unfortunately, he's on another island, and we were told that Zoom participation was not possible.
Okay, that's strange.
Sure. I just have a quick question. So if the president of the region is not here and then he
chair.
was,
The chair.
or the chair, whatever the guy is, if he's not here, then who's gonna be giving the budget? Because you was quoted that the budget is not yours, it's the Board of Regents budget. So you're going to be giving the budget of the region, but he's not here.
It's the university's budget prepared by the administration, reviewed by the regents, and eventually approved by the regents with whatever changes they request be made.
Okay, because he was quoted that you said that the budget is not the president.
We refer to it as the Board of Regents budget.
Okay.
Because it is approved by the board before it goes to the governor and to the legislature.
Okay, I just kind of just, I mean, I know he had to be invited, but it should be something later on, maybe they can look at the video that they should be here. Shouldn't have to be invited, because if they are approving the budget that's coming from the administration, they need to come and explain. Because if we get questions that you cannot answer, he's not here.
He's gonna be here. Actually.
So that's something that just to think of. I mean, if you're gonna be here next year, can you refer that over to the chair or the director or whoever that is in the region, please? Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
We can go through it and then recess and have them come back. Okay, why don't we go over tables? Well, why don't you do whatever brief introductions or brief remarks, and then we can go into table 6.
Okay, I'm happy to report our university is doing very well. We're educating students, conducting research, engaged with the community, and addressing Hawaii's greatest problems and opportunities. We have a fairly modest budget request this year. Our request to the governor was for just $56,342,000. The governor approved $28,600,000 in operating budget. I will note that of that, and I won't go through the slides as requested, but 24.8 million of our budget request is actually money that is in our current budget this year, but it is not in our base budget. And this is the restoration of funds that were reduced during COVID. And so the largest single part of our budget request is just to maintain our current budget. And Vice President Young will go through the budget request in more detail. On the CIP side of the house, we requested the university and approved by the Board of Regents 331.5 million. The governor approved 66.5 of that. And the biggest gap is probably in repairs, improvement, and maintenance. So that's a high-level summary. We're happy to be here and answer questions. And with that, I think, Vice President Young can summarize the budget request in more detail. Thank you.
Chair, just want to follow up, please, if you can endorse it.
Can we let them go through the
Okay.
budget table?
All right,
And then,
okay.
because as long as we get through that,
All right,
If not, we're gonna be here till 5 p.m.
get all the pizza.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, for illustrative, it's easier to view. Slide 11, in the packet that was provided, provides the categorization of items that relate to, table 6, that's in your packet for the proposed budget additions. So as, President had referenced, the number one item at the first category item is restoration of general funds. It's about $21.1 million.
Okay, so which lines are those?
So
articles?
in the table 6, that would be all the items where the description is PRRR restoration of pre-pandemic levels. So this is present for 5.6 million at UH100, which is the Manoa campus, for 1.8 million at JABSOM, or John A. Burns School of Medicine, JABSOM. That's UOH 110. At UH Hilo, it's 3,420,000. That's UOH 210. At UH West Oahu, it's 1,620,000. That's UOH 700. And for UH system, it's $5,086,848. That's UOH 900. There's also, looking at table 6 as well, there is athletics restoration or funding within the 2 campuses that have athletics program. Again, these are funding that currently exists in the current year. It previously used to exist as in the base pre-pandemic. So that's for 3,200,000 at UOH 100, that's Manoa, and 400,000 at UH Hilo, that's UOH 210. I can stay on the table 6.
Yeah,
or-
go ahead. Table 6.
So, additionally, at UOH 100 Manoa campus, funding for CTAR extension agents, 5 positions, for $506,555. That amount is also reflected in the governor's proposed budget. In the area of campus security, 4 positions, $1,208,020. That's, however, a method of funding identified as B. And then there is for UH, thank you, for UOH 800, the community colleges, for Hawaii Promise continuation, increase of 3,700,000. That is also reflected in the governor's proposed budget. It is different, though, from the UH Regents proposed or requested budget. The difference being on the order of about 18.3 million, and that difference is related to expansion of Hawaii Promise to the 4-year campuses. Hawaii Promise currently exists only at the community colleges. So it was requested in the UH proposed budget. You folks have probably seen that, but the amount in the governor's budget is less. And then related to workforce and programming for nursing, so mid-industry workforce development, nursing enrollment at UH 100, but this is between Manoa and UH West Oahu, for 6.5 positions and $1,068,821 for nursing enrollment and access expansion. At UH 110, so again, this is JABSOM, the medical school. Funding for 4 positions, $925,000. And this is to provide Neighbor Island programming, health and access for a pathway and extension program for the medical school on the Neighbor Islands. And then also in UH 210. So this is Hilo. An MA, the funding of 3 positions and 210,000 for a master's program in counseling psychology. UH 700, which is UH West Oahu, funding support of 3 positions, 322,000 for the pre-nursing program. And then within UH 900 for system-wide, so this is UH system, mental health services within the university, 6 positions, 510,000. And then last item on the table 6 is within the community colleges, specifically at Windward, for incarcerated students program. This would be 3 positions and $250,528. The table that we have on the screen also has 2 other areas that are not included in the governor's proposed budget, and that is for certain appropriations that were made in the current fiscal year, but only partially funded. So the request was for the next fiscal year to fully fund them for a full year. That again is about $749,000. It's not reflected in the governor's proposed budget. And then for an item, positions and funding that we identified as wildfire response, but that's also not explicitly included in the governor's proposed budget. And then the last item was, as I had mentioned earlier, related to the Hawaii Promise program. It's partially funded. So with that, Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions on the budget requests. And there are also university personnel that can speak more specifically about any technical issues on the program.
Members' questions?
So your priorities, we're to assume that these are your priorities that you went over overall.
Yes.
So when we visited university and looked at all of the student housing, there is so much that had been neglected, and I don't see anything on your priorities for that. So
There is a funding request that was in the region's proposed budget request for student housing, but that is on the capital budget side, not the operating budget.
right, but you don't, according to the information that was provided to us on the maintenance, that the university rates 2 levels below the worst, that is not even on the maintenance schedule. That's how bad we are maintaining that. So would that be under the capital request?
Fixing of the facilities is on the capital.
Right, but
budget,
maintaining of the facilities, is that the capital as well?
yes. There is some operating funding that is in student housing. That program is special funded and is not part of the general fund request. These items here are specifically general fund requests.
Right, but if it's a priority and it's been neglected and it appears that it's not enough money in that fund to maintain it, wouldn't you be putting it in your budget? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what is the priorities of the university and That seems to be awful.
Okay, why don't we go over table 15 then, so we can see what's in the CIP request?
1.6. So table 15 is the CIP request on this, on the overhead. It would be slide 9. Okay, so table 15 shows the request for CIP for fiscal year 25. The slide that we have on the screen shows the difference between what was included in the Board of Regents requested budget and what has been included in the governor's submittal. The slide that we have on the screen has it broken up by categories.
Colin,
Your table on slide 15 has more specific items. So on screen, the first item on the top is related to system and Manoa RIM or RIM, which is Renew, Improve, Modernize projects. Included in the governor's submitted budget is 20 million for
Are
that.
we on table 15?
I just referenced the on screen up
yeah, but
there.
if can we go along table 15 and then we can go back? I don't want to use that as a source document. I want to use table 15.
It's not there.
Okay, so on table 15, the first item on the chart is related to Manoa UH 100. It is for Waikiki Aquarium upgrades. This is additional funding related to a previously appropriated and planned project related to the discharge system at the aquarium for 9 million. The next two items, UH 900, this is system relate to RIM that I just referenced earlier. There's 30 million in the current year that's identified as A funding, and 50 million for bond funding in fiscal year 25.
And that's the breakdown for that 80 million.
The RIM that is referenced up here is inclusive of what was requested and included by the governor. This table here.
What's included in the 80?
Sorry, Senator Michael Ng from the University Budget Office. Table 15 is a little weird for us because it does include already appropriated CIP. And for this item, there was 30 million in general funds that was changed by the governor into GO bonds, plus 20 million that's on this table. So for new money, the board requested 110 million.
No, let's just go over what the governor.
Yeah, it's going to be strange because unlike
No, but
I
why
think-
can't you guys just fill out the table like everybody else and only add new requests?
the governor changed the means of financing on currently appropriated cash CIP to GO, and so this reflects that also. And that's not something that he did for many other departments. I think only DOE he might have done that. So that's why it's different. So it's gonna, that's our new request.
But
That's
if the-
new GO money.
The governor converted 30 to 50 to 50.
30 G fund to 30 GO plus 20 new GO.
So why don't you just show us all of that?
Okay, so
Just show the,
So on your table 15, that's the 50
Yeah.
million in fiscal year 25. But that actually represents the 30 million that's on the line above it. That's MOFA. Plus the 20 million that's included in the governor's
yeah.
budget equals the 50 million that's on the third line.
Okay, so what's the
Okay.
breakdown of the 50?
Like,
Projects.
Wanna know this?
Yeah. We want to know.
They include student housing.
So I was just.
Vice President Gouveia will provide.
Good morning, Chair.
Morning.
Okay, so the breakdown, we do have a breakdown of the CISP. It ranges in smaller renew, improve, and modernize across the Manoa campus primarily. Like HVAC upgrades, lighting, plumbing, electrical, spalling, classroom improvements. We have a nice list that exceeds 50 million.
Okay, can you give us the list of what is in the 50 million?
Yes, I can provide that. I don't have that in front of me at this time. But we have a list.
Okay,
Why are you not ready for this? This is a budget briefing.
Actually, I think we do. I apologize. Let me see. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's basically, various building envelope, interior, central plant systems, electrical, mechanical roof and site infrastructure upgrades.
Does it show where?
Yeah, where are you focusing on?
Multiple buildings on the main Manoa campus.
So
We
it's the
usually-
Manoa campus, but you know, the student housing, the question is in student.
It does not include at this time. The list does not include student housing
So the
Okay.
50 million don't include student housing?
at this time.
What do you mean at this time? It either does or it doesn't.
No, it does not.
So what buildings is this? Because again, we fixing buildings, making them nice and beautiful, air conditioning, nice chairs, and we get 2 students. So what buildings are you guys specifically fixing? The ones that is in highly in use or the ones that is empty with air conditioning? How much people, the buildings you're fixing for the students,
Yes.
how much students actually use that buildings instead of doing online at home? How much warm bodies are in those buildings on a daily usage?
I understand what you're getting at. I don't have the exact number, but these are all, we will not be spending any CIP funds on a building that is not being utilized or occupied. So we primarily,
By the university or by charter schools?
This is Manoa.
this is the
Yeah,
this is the
specific-
Manoa.
That ruling is only for Manoa, or is this throughout your campuses?
no, you're talking, it says your system though.
System.
Right,
Wait,
but
what
it's,
is
we
that?
combine the system and the Manoa into one.
So of the
request.
50, how much is from Manoa?
All 50,
Then why did you write system?
because,
Why not just say Manoa? It was Manoa.
yeah,
Because then
it gives,
you're writing, you know what I'm saying? You're telling a system. So that's how we're looking at this 50 is for all campuses.
Yeah.
But you're only doing Manoas. Why not just say the 50? It's not as transparent.
historically, we've been using systems so that it does, if, depending on what the final appropriation comes out to. If Hilo needs some funding or West Oahu or any of the community colleges, needs funding, then it does provide the flexibility to use the system RIM to apply to those projects.
Okay.
This
So-
particular year, we generally come in with a breakdown of each campus requesting RIM funding. And usually, it's been our experience, I think that the governor's budget only includes the system and they expect the administration to distribute it accordingly amongst the campuses. So at this point,
Okay, maybe you can give us a breakdown of the 50 then,
yes, I can
of
provide.
which
a
projects
breakdown.
at Manoa that covers.
Yes,
But this does not include any housing.
it does not include any housing.
Is that that seems to be the only thing in there that's for Manoa, that one line?
Mhm. As a RIM line item.
Well, for CIP in general, right?
Athletics, right? Jen,
Included in the governor's budget.
Yeah,
Yes.
in table,
I think there's home snow, yeah.
Where is that? What line is that? Which program ID? Maybe we can.
UOH one, all UOH 100 is one.
25,000, I don't have 5 minutes.
So there's on the table, on your table, 1.5 million in the current year, 8 million for next year.
Oh, okay. I see.
There's Hawai'i Institute of Marine Biology.
So homes,
This
homes,
table includes appropriations for FY 25 that the legislature made last session, right? So within the biennium. So this table, so the example being that the last line on table 15, that Hawai'i Institute of Marine Biology, 63.5 million. That is not part of the UH budget request, but it is in the existing. So the existing biennium budget, you appropriated that last session.
that's fine. What I'm trying to get at are just the new things that you're requesting. So it's, because that's all we, unless you want to rehash the old requests over and over, but I would think the easier thing to do is just be quite.
So again, on this table, right, that I'm showing on the screen, reference to table 15.
I get that, but normally we use the
Yes.
tables to
Yeah.
prepare for the meeting. So when we look at the tables, we review them to develop our questions for the hearing.
So the column that has governors only, that's gonna be reflected in this, but it does include stuff that was previously appropriated for next fiscal year. And but looking there, so Waikiki Aquarium upgrades, 9 million was requested. 9 million is in the governor's request approval. That is new. That is going to be on.
I mean, even if you look at the table, at least put some asterisks even already funded. Or because
We
it,
can provide an update that
if not, the whole table
we
looks like,
try to interpret, but I understand what you're saying. To the question about Manoa student housing, what you can see on the slide, but is not in the table because of the instructions, is that the Board of Regents requested 120 million in general obligation bond CIP for Manoa student housing.
Yeah.
That's not shown here because the governor did not.
yeah. So the Holmes Hall, is that the one we went to visit?
No, the student housing.
Student house,
The one
Homes Hall
thing-
is not a student.
Holmes Hall is engineering.
Engineer.
It's at Noelani.
Correct. That's
the one that-
student housing and the one above it. So the second and third items are what
Okay,
the
wait,
university requested.
where is the housing on table 15?
It's not, because
No.
table 15 is only what is included in the governor's requested budget.
Sure.
So, okay, so so how are you gonna address what we saw? Now that the governor said, okay, we're not gonna put it in the CIP budget. So which funds are you gonna take from to fix the student housing? Maybe.
The short-term source of funding is the student housing account. So
Which has
there
how much in it?
has about, I'd say 25 million, maybe in as a rainy day fund, so to speak. It's been building primarily to do with facilities. So we have tapped into that. We have started using some of that funding.
And how much is needed for the vacated dorms?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a range depending on how much we want to improve it.
Well, you want to improve it so that people can move in.
Well, I'd like to interject and make clear. So the question that Senator Kim asked up here, okay, that money that VP Govea just referenced, that is operating funds. Okay, so that is special fund or revolving fund monies from rental revenue that tenants have paid over the years that have accumulated in that fund. So using that money, it's not gonna be on this operating budget request, but that's not general
Yeah.
funds. That was my
Yeah.
funds earlier. And to be clear, using that as operating funds to fund what should be or could be capital side funding, right? That is the prioritization decision that's being exemplified, Senator. So it's, I'm making clear, to do it this way, the university would absolutely be making a financial decision about utilizing what is operating reserves in the housing revolving fund to pay for capital. That in addition to what is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right?
But if it was maintained properly, because you had the 25 million, which, or what, that cash for housing, but it hasn't been maintained, people haven't been living in it for 7 years. So what we see some departments do is, okay, don't maintain it so that we have to ask for CIP. And then they get to keep their operational funds because they get to come back here asking for CIP. And that kind of seems the case because it's been vacant for 7 years.
Not sure what,
Can I build on that? We're not saying you should use that fund. Ms. Govea just told us that's a short term. So we're not the ones saying use this. My concern is why aren't we maintaining? If we got 25 million, and if you're not asking for more in operating to maintain the facilities, and not only do we have the Noilani that has been vacant for 7 years, we've got the attached that's ready to be vacated because of the plumbing situation that hasn't been maintained over the years. So that's the concern that we're raising. You know, where is the priority and why isn't the Board of Regents asking these questions? And that's why the chair of the region should be here to respond. Because if they're reviewing your budget, then they should be asking these questions. Because if that's number one priority, and that's what we're being dinged for not giving you folks some funding when it's not on your priority list, when it's been neglected for over a decade, you know, to see this kind of stuff is very troubling. So you have robbed the RIM budget, which is my concern of the 50 million, that we are not given specifics, because then you use it 20 million or whatever, you use money from the RIM to do Ching Field, which wasn't a priority. At some point, it became a priority, but then it took priority over fixing the dorms.
so as far as the priority of the dorms, the Board of Regents have approved, the Board of Regents have approved a CIP budget that includes a funding request for student housing. That request did not get included in the governor's request.
Yes, I understand that, Jan, but the governor and we didn't approve Ching Field be built either. But somehow you found the funding. And that's what we're trying to talk about. Like, where is, if it's not approved, then how are you going to do that if it's a priority? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you folks need to come up with. So
You want to use the
see.
same standard, right? If you can figure it out without having it in the budget to do the field, then you can figure it out if it's not in the budget to the dorms, and it's been 7 years vacant.
Well, I've been evaluating it for less than a year.
That's not- Folks should have been evaluating it for the last.
Okay, so who was it,
year.
who was supposed to evaluate it before you got involved?
Student housing has historically run as a completely independent operation on the Manoa campus under the what was then the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. So as part of our reorganization at Manoa, we identified student housing and in particular the facilities as an issue. There was not agreement on how to reorganize that because the two components of the student housing program are both the student life, so the RAs, the programming that we provide to help them succeed in college, as well as the facilities, which were two separate functions. We didn't figure out how to separate those so that our best facilities people, which is Jan Govea and her team, who maintain all of the buildings on campus and run the statewide CIP program. We couldn't figure out how to split that budget because both were funded from the same rental income and the decisions interact. So ultimately, the decision that we made in the fall was to put Vice President Govea in charge of the whole program. And that's why she says she's only recently been involved.
So I guess my question is, why does it take 7 years to get to that point? I mean, they've been vacant. And then the dorms next to that, if they don't get fixed, they're gonna be
Well,
vacant. That's over what? How
At the
many rooms?
beginning,
Housing?
I didn't, I can't answer the beginning. During COVID, we actually had the opposite problem, which was very low residency. So
You could have fixed it there.
this really accelerated after the reorg when we made this recognition and with students coming back.
It was vacant before COVID. This had
Right.
been going on for over a
Right.
decade.
Right.
And you
But
could
during
have for 10
COVID, I
years.
guess what I'm saying is the entire student housing programs were impacted by COVID.
Yeah, but that's the same thing with the classrooms. The students were not using the classrooms during COVID, and yet there were projects to fix classrooms.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do the same thing with housing? Why is housing, you're saying 7 years vacant, falling apart? I mean, it looks terrible. I just,
We're looking forward. If you want to go back and blame me, go ahead. It's okay.
No, I'm
But
not
we're trying to
But it
create a
is your
plan moving forward.
responsibility.
That's our focus right now. What is our plan moving forward?
So how long you was at the university?
so you think
No.
that's acceptable though, 7 years?
I do not.
So why did you allow it to go on that long?
I wasn't personally aware of
Oh,
everything going on in student housing.
oh my God.
But you're also the chancellor for Manoa.
I don't know what's going
And how
on.
would you not know that those dorms have been vacant for 7 years?
It,
It's amazing.
I can't answer that.
What?
Nobody brought it to my attention and I didn't ask the question.
You don't walk around the campus and see that the units are vacant?
I did not walk around and look at that building.
So when
And
you
we did
build-
not have wait lists. There's over 200 buildings on the campus.
So when you meet with your management team, you don't ask some of these questions about, okay, what needs to be fixed?
I think we've previously, everybody knows, look, the capital requirements at UH system, especially at UH Manoa, requires a certain level of capital funding each year. We previously have relayed to you that the level of appropriation does not meet that minimum threshold. So we're talking about having to maintain capital facilities for classrooms, administration, and student housing. So decisions on how much funding is available each year into what programs or facilities have been made. So
But how long do you wait?
just for Hawai'i Noelani as an example, since we're talking about that, what is referenced here is $80 million is required to put that facility
Yeah.
back into.
So 7 years ago, how much would it cost us?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
but-
what-
See,
but-
Calvert.
But the 25 million
Yeah.
that's referenced in the operating fund will not meet this
Right.
80 million. And that 25 million that VP Govea just mentioned is for all student housing, that as a program, that is not revenue that was generated by one facility. So to expend
Wait,
that.
so you're actually
We're
trying to
not saying that.
justify it's okay to be 7 years
I'm not
vacant?
justifying anything. I'm merely pointing out the fiscal and financial reality about prioritization. It's okay if you right now to single out student housing and this one student housing facility. But you can't forget that Ching Field, okay, was an expedient issue that had to get resolved. So that affects the prioritization decisions about how much money and resources are available to put into what facility. Building capital on classrooms or on the campus proper also is an issue when there's not enough funding to address that year's capital maintenance. So I'm not justifying or trying to make an excuse for
Yes, you are.
anybody. I'm merely pointing out that lambasting where the current condition is not really going to be helpful, except to understand how are we supposed to address it Because it ultimately comes down to money.
No, so-
Somebody's gotta
But, yeah,
come up
So why don't you take part of the 50 then? It
so-
says system-wide. You asked for flexibility in the language. Why not take part of the 50? Going back to Senator Kim's point, if that is really an urgent priority, then you would take the 50 and use some of that or most of that toward what's urgent.
Absolutely.
See, Gilbert,
And that,
So that's-
and as long as we are all in agreement.
But then there's no list.
yeah,
But that will come at the expense of whatever is on the list.
but Calvin,
We don't have a list. You haven't provided a list, so we don't know what's on the
You see
list.
the list that the people there will provide you.
This magical hidden list.
So this is one of the structural changes that we just made last year. And you can fault me for not doing this much sooner over the wishes of many of the people involved. But we go through a consultative process at the university, but the requests come from the units affected. So Vice President Govea, until next year, really, has not been responsible for the student housing capital budget request. That would have come up through a different reporting line. And to the best of my knowledge, the student housing program never said, gee, we need $80 million, or the last comment I heard from the now retired person who was leading housing was actually an intent to tear down that building.
okay, I have to interject. I'm sorry, I have to interject here. This is not the first time we're talking about housing. I have brought this up. Students have brought it up. They've talked about, we've articles on rats being in the dorms, about infestations, about the electricity going out, about all the student specimens being ruined. This has come up time and time again. All the years I've been here, you guys have not come forward to tell us or to request or put it on any part. So I understand what you're saying, Calbert, about, oh, this year we don't have the money, but you never come forward prior to this. And, you keep talking about, and you guys go to the media and talk about priorities, and yet these are priorities. And when you talk about expediency, the field was an expediency. Well, what about the students? You wouldn't have the field. You wouldn't be there without the students. So the campuses and university is not running with the students as a priority. It appears from what you folks provide to us that that's not the case. And so that's very troubling.
We have a request for the 120 million for student housing for CIP, and I want to
What
thank.
did you have
Regent
last
for-
year or the year before? What have you done?
Well, on the screen, we were requesting 110 million in RIM. And on the strategy, RIM can be used for student housing. If that was the case, we are asking for 110 million. The governor's budget includes 20 million of the 110 million. So when we talk about priority, when this question comes to me as the university's finance officer, okay, there are a lot of capital needs at the university, about 110 million, of which we are going to have to prioritize what's the top 20 million that will be afforded if you folks appropriate based on what the governor's budget. So yes, student housing a priority, but I would be willing to bet I could turn around and other people will point out there are other priorities that they wish were as high as student housing as well. So I'm just merely, again, I'm making it pretty clear that Senator Kim has already made this point as well. There are decisions about prioritization that have to be made relative to what is in the budget.
So that you're justifying 7 years of vacancy?
No, I'm not justifying something.
Then where are you going with all this?
I can't turn back the clock. Yes, it's 7 years, could be longer, but how does that thing get open next year? What is the plan to actually get?
So
that-
this is the hand that you're dealt that the governor gave you.
Yes,
And in previous projects, you were able to find buckets of money to fund them. So if it's really a priority, you would figure out where you can get funding
to
to act.
$80 million.
You've done Sinclair, you put Sinclair out of that. I mean, come on.
And if,
There was a CIP appropriation.
Yeah.
Right. Well, why didn't you get a CIP appropriation?
or why didn't you take it out of previous lump sums?
Yeah, when you came in for Sinclair, why didn't you come in for Noelani? You guys didn't. You know, you guys did Atherton. You were gonna build dorms, new dorms. You were in the media talking about new dorms for Atherton, and you couldn't even come in and do Noelani.
The new dorm didn't use,
Don't tell me that, because in the beginning, you guys were gonna use money before you decided to do the P3 and all of that. You're on the newspaper quoted to say that these are dorms that is needed, and you're gonna do it with the foundation, you're gonna lease the land. That changed because the numbers didn't pencil out. But again, why wasn't Noelani put as a priority?
I can't tell you, I don't know. But. there
Okay,
hasn't
then
been-
defer to the person that's supposed to know the answer.
Maybe we should turn that into Kauhale, turn this whole Noelani part, give it to the governor and let him turn it into a Kauhale, and we can put housing there. And help in that situation.
So if you can provide us a breakdown of the 50,
Yes. I will.
and then can you also provide us a list of maintenance or repairs that need to be made urgently, and we can compare the two.
I've been
Your
through housing
your
committee.
budget versus all the other things that needs immediate repair.
My
When we saw, when we went to, on the site visit, we saw areas where you could actually repair. It doesn't have to be a whole building, but in the interim, what is the plan? Because I think one of your staff said there was a waiting list of 1,000. So it's like a need, right? So how do you get that? At least in the interim, what is the phasing in for a plan? Yeah, I think
Right,
that's
so
what we need to
We
see.
did, okay, so this, it's a timing issue on when our budget gets put together as well as these hearings. In terms of what I know and I'm able to report to you on right now. The first step when you're trying to come up with something comprehensive is to really identify, as you say, the priorities and put some dollars around it. So there was an exercise spent on prioritizing all of the different repair / renovation / complete CIP, gut and replace type projects. We needed to, as a team, sit down and take a look at all of that. So there has been a preliminary assessment done. We have provided a copy of that list, scope, prioritization with a rough order of magnitude dollar value, right? And that came out to about 130 million-ish of projects. That is not including Haleno'olani. Haleno'olani, we are still evaluating how to proceed with Haleno'olani.
Wait, can you just clarify that? Because your list of projects, it doesn't include that specific housing project or all housing projects?
So we are so I apologize. We internally, and it's maybe more inside baseball, but we have 2 RIM lists.
Yeah.
That we have, one for the main Manoa all of the rest of the Manoa campus, and one dedicated just to student housing. Because we need to know what there is a possible source of.
And so
funding.
when was that available for you to see? The housing RIM list?
Like a week ago,
No, so who
right? So, and we have forwarded a copy of that in response to one of your previous.
who normally
requests.
is supposed to look at that though?
Who normally is?
I mean,
Well,
it's
it's been assigned to me as of August,
It's,
so right now, I
before
don't know.
you,
what
before you, who looks at it?
I would assume it's the people who were in
it
charge
would have
of
come
student housing.
through the student housing group under student affairs.
And they don't go up the flagpole and say, hey, we have this list.
Oh, I don't think they had a list.
Oh, they didn't even have a list.
I am not aware of a list.
So they just let it fall apart.
I don't know if I would use those words, but I don't know what they did. They're a different unit.
Is it
We
reported?
find the state
Yeah.
of the condition that we find it in
So-
today.
Again, you can go backwards, and if you want to blame somebody, blame me. That's fine. My CEO doesn't do everything, and my job was to put the best people and organization I could in charge of the problem, and that's what I've done by putting Vice President Gouveia.
No, I mean, but in the future, if you want to talk in the future, then maybe it's not a good idea to have the chancellor and the president in the same position. Because this is one clear example where this campus needed a lot more oversight and ownership to fix some of these larger problems and not have dual roles.
This problem has existed a lot longer than whether the president and chancellor were one or two positions. So some of the articles that Chair Kim mentioned go back to when there was a separate chancellor. Because it certainly goes
Yeah, but it
back to
hasn't
the beginning of
improved
the century.
since, but it has not improved since the position
It
has been
hasn't.
combined.
There were some improvements at one point under student affairs, but then they were not sustained.
Okay, we can come back to it. Okay, after RIM, the 8 million. Coconut Island,
So the Coconut Island is an additional 3 million, right?
well, yeah, so let's just talk about the 8. What's the 8?
The 8 for Holmes Hall?
No,
What am I?
Sewers.
because I'm not gonna look at
Yeah,
the column that says fiscal year
Island.
24, because there's no sense, right?
yeah.
So
I s-
It's
What's
I
that?
believe the 8 was already appropriated.
No, it says here the 4.25 was appropriated.
Yeah, so there's 3 in the new request.
Yeah,
So again, we interpreted the instructions to
no, so yeah,
provide
that's fine.
in
So
accordance.
what's the breakdown of the 8?
So 5 of the 8, I believe, was previously appropriated.
And that was for what?
It's for the Coconut, it was for this line item project, Coconut Island
So
Sewer
just
Line.
sewer upgrade.
Yes, so
And then
the
the cost went up.
the on-island sewer system
Yeah.
is the original.
So the
that
cost went
is-
up almost 4 million. And so now,
No, it wasn't fully funded. We identified a need for 12 million. At the time, the request was put together and only 10 was funded. So
okay,
between last year and this year, we requested.
what's
an
the full
additional
amount
3.
that's needed?
13. We have 13 and 10 has been appropriated.
Okay, and so Hilo,
Next.
28.3 million. Looks like that number went down.
So
no, it went
this is really hard to read. Let me see. So Hilo's rim is 7.3 in new money.
They got 15 million.
So 15 was previously appropriated in
Yeah.
last year's budget.
So
And-
so if you can, okay, so if the total amount now is 28.3, even though you
Yes.
had some previous, what's the breakdown for the 28.3 million?
So the breakdown for the 28.3 are classroom projects. UCB renovations, library AC improvements, theater renovations. College Hall C renovations.
Okay. So does this help that campus get within the 10% of maintenance? You know, do you have a
Yes.
policy?
Yes, it does.
So where is Manoa on that percentage? Is it past the 10%?
Oh, yes, it's above the 10%. There's the deferred maintenance backlog from Manoa is in the hundreds of millions.
So what, you don't have the percent number?
Oh, no, I don't have the percent number of that.
That should include the housing.
It should include the housing. It's a number that is in our sightline system that we are currently evaluating. I'm sure the number's going to go up.
So,
The deferred maintenance backlog,
Is gonna be 800.
yeah.
okay, so for members, I guess the regions, is it the regions policy that if you have more than 10% backlog of maintenance, you cannot have it. The regions will not approve a new building on your campus.
And
Unless what?
you take down, there's a net, it's more of a no net it's more of a no net increase in new square footage. So you.
so-
Demolish an old building and put up a new building, then
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
you know, it's not
That's the
necessary.
distinction though, is
Yeah.
you can tear something down and put something new up, because sometimes it's not worth repairing.
Okay,
Closer to it.
okay. So you can give us a breakdown of the helo. So what is this statewide? Your whole deferred maintenance on this one?
Which one are we at?
Oh, this community college. 25 million.
So, again, there is current appropriation for community college. So there's these four
Yeah.
line items that's on your table.
It's a wash.
Well, there's current appropriation, but that current appropriation includes cash funded, so general fund CIP for this capital renewal. So the proposal or in the budget is to identify that the source of funds is each general
Changed.
funds.
Yeah. Okay, so
It's not necessarily it's more, it's just a different source of funds.
yeah, so the 25 million for deferred maintenance from community college goes from A fund to C fund.
Okay.
On both, and so one is major, one is minor. You know what it is?
One's CRDM, capital renewal and deferred maintenance, CRDM. It's kind of, it's tantamount to like RIM, but on the community college. What's in a title?
So it's basic, the difference is major repair versus minor repair.
Right.
DNF, I guess.
Okay, and so the Holmes Hall, the 8 million, that's engineering.
Yes.
That's College of Engineering.
And what about that building that takes priority over putting the money in for student housing?
Our budget request has 8 million for Holmes Hall and 120 million for student housing.
Right, but why wouldn't you make a point to get as much funding for your main priority? Because this was approved, 8 million was approved by the governor.
8 million is included in the governor's budget.
Right. So was the argument made that some of these fundings he's putting in these other areas maybe should go for student housing?
Okay, let me ask you this way. If you look at table 15, right, the third column, it says department-wide priority. So when you presented your budget out to the regions, where was the dorms as far as that number?
Oh, it might have been 2 or 3. I believe number 1, I can find our list. I
So
believe
did you
number
guys
1.
appeal and tell the governor, no, don't give us number 7, give us number 2 or 3 instead?
Yeah, I mean, we jumped on the
We
call.
did,
Yeah.
we did appeal. Again, the amount of CIP that's available. That was available to be provided to UH is. As referenced here, basically like 20% of the request.
Okay, but so at the end of this past legislative session, you guys went to the governor and appealed to him for $20 million, right? You got $20 million out of the amount we gave the governor, that he had his discretion.
Out of the
We-
200
we
million.
We requested and proposed and pitched, but it was not, we were not able to get provided.
No, you pitched and you got 20 million to do Ching Field.
We did not get 20 million.
What did you
We
get?
did not get.
Okay, from the governor's 200 million, what did you get?
We had requested 20 million for a number of items, but the governor could not afford to provide the university 20 million.
No, so how much did he give you
Yes, it was 12 million,
out of his 200 bucket?
whatever amount was available to the governor.
I thought it was the 20 that allowed you, how did you do the extension of Ching Field and move the track and field and everything? How did you, what funding did that come out of then?
I believe that's campus funding.
It helped with the track, right?
It did both. It did phase 2.
So
It
how
helped the
much,
track.
how
No,
much
so-
did you appeal to the governor for? And what did you get from him to do the Ching Field,
We-
extension of Ching Field?
So we did we did request for 20 million.
For,
And
for what?
there are three things. One was for gender equity, Title IX facilities. Was not Chingfield, but it was for the track and soccer field.
To make Chingfield happen. Without moving that, you couldn't do extension of Chingfield,
They,
right?
I believe they already have, like Chingfield had already eliminated the track. So this wasn't to make Chingfield happen, it was
No, but
to-
to extend, you needed to move the field to extend,
the track was already compromised.
right, but you had to move it.
But, yeah, but, so the request was to go towards the track and soccer field construction. Funding for cancer center, I believe. And sorry, I'm doing this by recollection.
So, okay, it's make it long story short.
Okay,
So
so-
no appeal for the dorms at all,
Yes.
Or no ask
no ask.
for the,
See, that's the point.
We asked for 20, we had proposed for 20, that was before, the Maui disaster occurred. So, governor was not able to provide the full request. So,
but the
but
20 didn't include the dorms.
it did not
Including-
include the dorms.
So
It did not include
My
the dorms.
point is, you folks lobby or you get the governor, you make your pitch and you get stuff, but you've never really made the pitch for dorms. You didn't even put it on the table. And so then it leads us to believe that it's not a priority. And that's where we're coming from. And so the concern.
So
we have
it's fair
about
to say
the
it
budget-
was not a priority and it is now. And you, again, if you want to blame me for personally not making it a priority,
Well,
that's okay, but we have,
President,
we're
it's not
moving
a matter
forward.
of blame, it's a matter of responsibility, it's a matter of, making sure when you come up and tell us how, UH is doing so well and you're doing all of this stuff, but then there's all of these areas.
Senator, I will.
Raise
So
concern.
this is different from the president. The vice president for the university and CFO, I'm acknowledging it was not part of the request. But I have sitting before you right now, the university is making this request to you right now.
Yes, but I'm just
Right
saying
there.
that,
It-
have you impressed upon the governor, when you got all these other funding, that governor, why don't you give us this instead of this?
It could have, should have, no, I just acknowledged it was not asked. It was not asked. It was asked of the governor in the budget submittal, it's right there. That was not included in the governor's proposal, but I'm asking it right now to you right now. It is, I'm pointing it out, it was part of the university's request. You're not gonna see it.
Okay,
in the
no, that's
governor's
fine. That's
request.
fine. So
But
what we can work with you guys to figure out what what we need to get reduced so we can replace that amount
Right.
and fund housing.
that project, that we don't know what it was. There's 60, yeah,
There's
there's 60 million.
that's on your table 15, 63,500,000.
Yeah.
$517,000.
That's a good place to start.
Right? That was appropriation for FY 25. It's currently existing in the budget you appropriated last year. We have no idea what this is actually for.
I don't either. never
This
seen-
item could not be repurposed for student housing because it's appropriated specifically
Which one is this?
for HIMP.
Yeah,
What-
marine biology.
Is that-
That's the
On the
second
table.
to
Feel
last.
free to reappropriate this amount into specifically for student housing.
Second to the last one.
Oh, that's the second to the last.
Yeah.
Second to last line on table
It's,
15.
so that was part of the governor's budget.
That's the legislative budget that
It-
you appropriated last year.
It's already
C-fund.
appropriated in the biennium budget
It's
this
C.
way.
We should have.
So it's already there. It is already there.
Yeah, we have no intent to execute this project. It was not requested. I mean, I think you all know that the budget we get doesn't always resemble the budget we request.
No, but we never, I don't even know about this. It was never.
Yeah, I don't know.
You appropriated it.
Well, it
What
never
is
run
this?
to me.
No, but just like how the president said, oh, I didn't know. So, we don't, she's not the CIP chair, so he's the chancellor. Somebody else did the housing. He said, I didn't know. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
We're not blaming, we're just.
Okay, so you want to blame her, you have to take responsibility too.
the legislature appropriated this.
Who appropriated or what?
You have the house
Do you
side.
wanna
you could
take
do-
that 63 million? take
We're
it-
suggesting that it be repurposed. If I'm trying to be
And we're
forward-looking
saying-
with a solution.
Yes.
But that's what we're telling you folks to come forward and tell us where where we can take this from,
Yes,
you know?
there you go.
Okay, why don't we go down to, what is the new things at the end? UH West Oahu renew, improve, modernize, 5 million. Did you ask for that?
That was in the original, but DOR approved budget request. And
And what is that? Yeah,
included in the,
And it's in the goals.
and it's in the governor's.
What is
yeah,
it
no,
for?
yeah, it's on our table.
What's
So,
the-
Okay.
so what is it for?
5 million and then plus the 8 million plus the 63 million.
So they're saying that more than 63 is. for this one.
I mean, they're, campus center.
There's no- if there's any history on this.
Okay, what is the actual number of percentage of students that is not on the campus that is doing virtual at West Oahu? It's pretty high, right? Over 60%?
We can provide,
Where's the campus? Where's the chancellor? What's that number?
If you can come forward.
What's that number?
25-27%.
Is on campus? 25% is on campus or
On campus.
so 75% is doing virtual?
Combination of hybrid, so on campus and online,
Okay.
and the others are online.
Okay, I just bring that up because when we visited there several times,
Right.
not even during COVID, after COVID, I mean, it's like a ghost town. And the building, the brand new science building is hardly being used. So why are we spending priority funding there when it's needed elsewhere?
The RIM funding, the project is a combination of maintenance, roofing, roadways, parking areas.
Yes, but is it as prioritized at this point as what we need for
I
housing?
think
I'm
that,
just saying that.
I think that my vice chancellor had a conversation about this and said that, you know, if we didn't get
still
by
there,
them,
it's
we could
still
look at something that's. Just do the roofing.
Understand. Thank you for that. But those are the kinds of areas, Jan, that we should be looking at as to where we can take money and put it where the priority is.
You just have to change your kick the can down the road
Yeah.
strategy a little bit, sounds like.
I mean, they're not fully utilizing West Oahu anyway, because you are allowing Dream House or other charter schools to use your campus, so I think we should use the funds where it's necessary and needed immediately.
Okay, so then you have here Manoa Mini Master Plan.
Kuykendall.
That's 5 million, right?
What is it?
Right after you address the law.
Yeah, why are we playing?
It's to help fund the phase 3, so Kuykendall is in pretty bad repair, state of disrepair.
Okay,
The spalling is pretty bad, so we do need to.
How many phases are there?
Yes, this is the final phase. There's 3 phases.
And how much was the total project then from start, the phase 1 to?
So it's actually a broader campus-wide initiative. So phase 1 was the life sciences building. Phase 2 is the Snyder replacement building. And phase 3 is.
So it's just this building, just Kuykendall?
Yeah, and so that would. Because when we do these whole building replacement or renovation projects, all the applicants have to be relocated. So it's kind of build a surge space, build one, move, then renovate the other. So move people from Kuykendall, will move into Snyder. And then we can renovate Kuykendall.
So 5 million is for construction. It's going to be
for planning
piled
and design.
in the timeline.
Planning and design.
Planning and
Why are we
design.
planning and design this and we're not planning and designing others, the dorms?
but it says here, this is priority 18.
Yeah.
And then aquarium, seawall. It's, I would think self-explanatory, right?
Mhm.
And that's priority 19. Then Jabsum roof replacement.
Yeah, we-
Priority 20.
Mhm.
Did you ask?
That we have for all three of our buildings, three senators.
You gotta speak in the mic. I mean,
Yes, I will say, for JAPSOM, it is their number one priority.
I'm just reading your
Yes,
department.
understood, but when it gets consolidated, with alternate campuses.
Senators, yeah, so our three buildings. We have our basic science building, we have our medical education building, we have another building, we have research and other things going on. And we had money initially to replace a part of the roof, but with the heavy rains last year. And even just this past weekend, we're continuing to have additional leakages, and so.
And that was in the region request.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then you have the one that you didn't ask for, so that wasn't part of the region request either, but that's priority 21. So I'm surprised. And then the CCAR you asked for?
Yeah, how did you prioritize it if you
The
didn't ask
CCAR
for it?
by care research.
I have a question.
Current year.
I have a question,
that part-
Madam Chair.
What, that's that part of the region request?
No, that's a CIP.
That's not part of the supplemental.
No, I know, but I just wanted to, I guess what sticks out is that's number 22. So I'm not, if you asked for that,
That was already in the, you already appropriated.
We appropriated 7 mil last year.
so
Right.
if you can reprioritize based on what's in just fiscal year 25.
Mhm.
So we can see what the numbers are,
Understood.
because then it's confusing.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I ask a
Yeah, but
question
you
then?
gave us the table.
No, that's, I mean, it's a.
Not our
template.
instructions.
It's a template that we try to plug in our numbers as well.
Your numbers are because it's needed. It's demolition of the building that was held by termites as well.
Yes.
But we appropriated last year the 7 million. Now, is this the balance? I saw Dean here from CTAR. I want to know,
This is the existing fiscal year,
yeah.
so this is not even a new
So
request.
the question is this the balance of the demolition or where is it with regards to the project? Because several buildings were supposed to come down. So my question, and she's here, why don't we ask her?
Let them.
There, she can answer.
But I think only 2.6 was appropriated.
Yeah, so is that, yeah, because I understand they're already gonna be demolished this year.
Yes.
So this money is getting
Not
spent.
this money. With a different source of, with another source.
So what is this gonna go for?
And that's the question. Is this the balance of the appropriation of
Just
the
a second, yeah, let
CIP
them-
last year?
No, what is this 2.6 for?
It's for Hawai'i research station infrastructure regarding labs and other related improvements.
So it's not the roof.
For what? For
It's under 800.
CTAR?
too.
No, this is CTAR.
This is
The
CTAR.
roof was the medical.
It's a whole building's construction. Demolition.
Oh, yeah, demolitions.
Yeah, it's demolishing of the buildings.
So this has apparently has nothing to do with CTAR and it actually is UH 800
It says
appropriation of this community colleges. Thank you, Mike.
Community college.
Community colleges.
I don't know why
And
it
it looks
says,
like we will not be submitting, we will.
Oh, you know what?
This one.
Do you not review this stuff before you guys send it into?
Oh, so this is, you're gonna force lapse this.
Yep.
Oh, you're gonna come in asking for force lapse.
This is,
Oh,
You're gonna just wait it out. Yeah, but that's another 2 years.
I think I'm heard on this. This has nothing to do with CETA. You are
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
The community college
Yeah.
created this with whoever they
Okay, but they're
decided
gonna
they're do
They're
something
gonna
else.
lapse it, sounds like.
Another 2.6 million.
I know. Can you add it to the?
Okay, so if you can maybe redo this
Yeah.
table with only fiscal year
it.
25 and then prioritizing it.
And when you say, just so we're clear, is it just additional to what's already been appropriated?
Yeah,
Or
the
do
new
you
money.
want To identify what was appropriated last year?
No, I just think we should just keep it simple and
No, but if we can take, if we can lap stuff here and move it over.
Excuse me, but
that's what the
cannot
governor
my,
did though, in his budget. So that's already done in the governor's budget, isn't it? In the budget we're receiving from the governor, he already took these funds from 24.
But he didn't take
I don't
this one.
think so. I don't know how to read this table, honestly. I apologize, but I don't think so.
He didn't take the 2.2.
Can I ask a request? Instead of lapsing this 2 million, we already have the construction phase for CTAR agriculture at Panaeva. So my question is, are we gonna have enough money by the time we demolish the 3 existing? We were going to build a new building so that our research people can have it.
Okay.
So
Wait, is that
instead
the
of
same
lapsing-
location though?
Well, this is
No,
the
it says,
college,
no, but
yeah.
it says here specifically Waiakea Research Station.
That's the station that I have my buildings on.
No, but the
but this is
Panaeva is
here.
where?
But
The
it's the wrong
Panaeva is
title.
the
It's
same
the
thing.
wrong title?
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's a
And
wrong
s-
title though.
Yeah,
Elaine. It's a
this
wrong-
one here is wrong because
The wrong
I know
title.
what I think they erred in this language. But this was a community college, has nothing to do with the ag industry.
Okay, maybe you guys go work that out and then
Yeah, if you can
figure
save
this
that
out.
money and
'cause-
put it in the construction.
No, no, this, we're gonna be here too long if,
Do 16, these are lapses.
yeah, so wait, I wanted to, so fiscal year 24. Some of these are governor lapsed already in his proposed budget,
No,
right? Didn't he cut, didn't he? I
not.
thought you said he moved,
There were only 2 items that were lapsed.
and then some things he took out of A funds and moved to
Yeah.
Z funds.
It's only the
Yeah.
statewide.
So those aren't lapsed.
Yeah.
They're being.
Yeah. So this is not accurate because it makes it look like they have funding for both. In some cases, it's either or, in some cases, it's a forced lapse. In some cases, they just ignored it and left it in.
How many are forced lapse in this list?
Yes, the last 2.
Just the last 2.
Well, yeah,
Let me rephrase.
we would,
The board-
we would happily.
What is that?
They will happily force lapse it.
Oh,
It's not forced lapse yet.
No, we have to force lapse it through the budget.
We would
would
have
have
to
to
read
read
it,
we just
let
cut
it
it.
expire or lapse, but if you want to force lapse it, that's not on us,
Yeah.
it would be on BNF or legislature actually force lapse. it.
Yeah, or just cut it
Just
from the
cut.
budget.
Or
The last 2
Reassign
items
it.
are already in the budget. They already are.
Okay, so you just give us a new list of just the 25 and prioritize.
Senator Favela, did you have a question on the CIPs?
The confusing part is, President Lesnar, I see it over here, and my colleagues know, I like Sinat, but anyway, bottom line is that the chair told you guys numerous of times that when you guys had that one on the screen right now, when did you guys have that developed? The one on the screen, when did you guys have that finalized?
November.
November, then how come none of us have it? Because we keep, no, you guys keep referring to that, and he keep going back to the table on our screen that you guys gave us. So that's what he told you guys, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So if you guys had this in November, you guys gave us the one that we have on here, that most of us prepared for what's have on here. And you guys saying that the governor this and the guy, so a lot of that is mixed up. So in November, you should have gave us in December, this updated one that you guys have. But the one we have over here is not. And you guys keep saying it's mixed up. Then I go back again on the CIPs. What you did, Vice President, you said about Ching Stadium. Yeah, Ching Stadium, President Lesnar, and you guys are, it was 2 different scopes and 2 different money. Beginning part of the whole Ching Stadium was temporary bleachers. Okay, somebody died when we did it permanent. Okay, and the bleachers there still today is not the correct way to do permanent bleachers. So again, you made a decision to change the scope of the work, never went back up to procurement, was almost 2 times to 3 times more than the original bid. So what I'm trying to get at, guys, is that when you saying over here, blame you, blame this, we're not trying to blame. Bottom line is, are you Stevie Wonder when you walk in on campus? Because we can see the decayed buildings on that campus. We're not asking you for walking 130-something buildings. So come on, I mean, you're the chancellor, you want to be chancellor and president. You cannot be at both places at the same time, then you shouldn't be. But when you start telling my colleagues and you're doing this is on priority, I take offense to that. You understand? So if you cannot conduct yourself, you guys let us conduct ourselves professionally, then you should conduct yourself professionally too. Don't pound your photo to my colleagues like that. I take offense. Okay. Another thing too is don't compare apples with oranges because you guys could have, should have, and would have if it was not. You say it again, blame you. Yeah, it is your fault. Yeah, it is your fault because you guys all should have a paper trail of all the upkeeps and maintenance on top of you guys' campus. Should be on computer. Don't you guys are in the 21st century? Can't you just go up and go look at student housing? Who was the last input on what the CIPs or the neglect of the building? You guys kind of keep blaming somebody at Joe Bocolo and then like how you guys blame COVID. Now you guys going with the fire. All of this thing is not necessary. Just pay attention to what they're trying to tell you guys because you guys not. You guys are being combative, and you are getting upset. That's the reason why you're hitting your photo when they're giving you the question. So that's what I'm seeing. Instead of you guys say, okay, we're going to do this, instead of Lazaro, you saying it's your fault, just say you guys going to correct the mistake that was previously not yours. But don't say blame this and then try to justify it in what you guys are saying in the CIPs, because you guys could have used some of the other monies previously, even with Ching's Stadium. That scope should have came back to us when you had changed them that much, and it was not a priority into the stadium and closed down. Okay, the money that you guys want to spend and change the scope of it is exactly what Senator De La Cruz said. If you guys can do that for Ching Stadium, then why couldn't you guys do it for the dorms? It's not that you guys didn't know, because you guys did know already. So why you guys never change some of the scope of the money and the projects that you guys had to change to fix that housing, right? Again, we're renovating buildings. The reason why I'm asking you, I want to know what is the warm bodies in there, because again, 27% or whatever is online, whatever the thing is, walking on campus, nobody. University of Manoa is not the same like it used to be, packed. So we just want to know if you guys had changed the scope for Ching Stadium without any approval, then you guys look, okay, this building needs to be renovated, but it's not falling down. So why are we going to change the seating, air conditioning, the rug, fix the whole classroom up when we have one building that was falling apart for 7 years? So that's the kind of prioritizing I'm asking you guys to do, or they're asking you, and I'm just observing. But what I'm watching here is I don't appreciate it. I don't. And when you guys think that we're attacking you guys, look how you're talking to my colleagues.
Okay.
You guys were told, sorry, I just saying it because if you guys was any place else, think about it. If you guys were any place else, if we wasn't senators and we was just out there on the street, you talk to me like that? So just to the respect of my colleagues, that's it. Because the only one who was okay is her. Everybody else was defensive. And if you guys coming here to be defensive, be more prepared. Don't do something in November. Don't give it to us. And my colleague is telling you that we will refer to the one on the computer, but you guys gave us, because that's what we did our homework on. And then you guys keep trying to refer to that. Or chew the whole thing, chew the watch them. Whole thing. Donovan, Senator De La Cruz said it 3 times. So again, if you guys feel that we're attacking you guys and you guys don't like be attacked and go to the media saying all of this kinds of stuff, then do your guys' homework before you come before us, because Senator De La Cruz, Senator Kim, and my colleagues always been consistent in everything they're asking you guys. Year after year, I've been there for 5 years, same thing for 5 years. Consistency, transparency. But we don't get that in the press. We get that we attacked, we evil, all this kind of stuff. But you guys got to be just as transparent as us. Does the community know that you guys will change the scope of the stadium from $1 million to $3 to $4 million? 2 different buckets. Does the community know that? No, they don't. So you guys want the same thing across the table. We want the same thing too.
Thank you, Senator Favela.
Okay, can we go to table 10? I want to see.
What number?
Okay.
What page?
So page 51. 1, 2. I think it's the 13th line. Can you just explain to us? I'm not sure what the transfer from UH 220 to UH 900.
Oh, this is From Small Business Development Corporation to system.
Yeah, you see the 86%, yeah. That kind of stuck out.
I'll have to check, but I believe it's probably, personnel and services. Sorry, personnel services related. So, and take a look at that for specific breakdown of what that accommodates.
So what does that mean? That UH 900 paid for services from UH 220? Okay, but you don't know what the services were.
I'll have to provide that to you.
Okay. Okay, any on 10? What about table 11? Because you asked for several new positions, but sounds like there's quite a bit of vacancies.
So have all the vacancies, freezes have been restored or released, freezes on the hiring?
Yes.
So,
The hiring freeze has been thawed, but for specific, I'm sorry, for filling of specific vacancies. It would depend.
sorry,
It would depend.
it would depend. Okay, and I've been asking this consistently, is these fill dates realistic? Because again, we went through the year before, which you submitted to us, like I did last year, and the year, and you will see all my color coding thing that went on, that these positions that you're telling me going to be filled, you told me that last year. And now you're giving me dates that it never got filled. So is it, you're just doing it so we don't cut the positions?
I think we do our best estimate, and I think, you know, you have, the legislature has commented and Civil Beat has covered, including comments from Chair Delacruz about the challenges with filling positions. We're doing in general better than the statewide average, but we still have a vacancy rate typically of around, I think the last number we looked at was around 11%. In some cases, we may, I mean, we'd have to go through position by position, but some things are just really difficult to fill in the current environment.
Okay, because you have here some of them that says fill date January 1, 2024. So am I to assume that those are filled? February 1, 2024. So you have somebody already in there or planning to? I mean, I'm just saying that it seems like you have fill dates that are not reflective of what is actually happening. So can you update this to give us more accurate fill dates? I know what you would hope for, but
We can ask the
There's a
units,
lot
I'll
of-
double check these.
2/1/2024, 2/1/2024, and that's just right around the corner. So if you don't have somebody that's already been interviewed and offered a job, it's probably not going to happen, right? So when we ask for that, we want more realistic dates as to what you expect and not just put in a date so that we assume that it's there so we don't cut. So are you looking at repurposing some of these vacancies so you can fill it?
Different units approached it differently, but in general, we do look at repurposing positions on a regular basis. Some of them, for example, things like security guards, we never have enough. So just because they're vacant, we wouldn't repurpose those. But we do, for example, move positions around pretty actively at Manoa based on where we need faculty with the changing patterns of students.
So as in the case of the security officers, it's difficult to fill because the pay is so low. So is there intent to try to get those positions upgraded or get some kind of variance or I mean, again, what is the priority is security. I know the community colleges asked for security positions and we gave that, but they can't fill it. So do we just leave them vacant? Or try to look at what are the reasons why we can't fill them, and, you know, instead of 30, maybe you need 20 and some of the salaries can up it so that we can fill some of these positions. I mean, is that something that you folks are looking at?
The differential,
Differential.
saying the differential for a shortage is one of the options that to explore.
Okay.
For security guards, but also for other.
In conjunction with vacancies, I requested a list of interim positions. And, you know, I request these things because it's been brought to my attention, which is why we asked for it, that there seems to be a lot of interim positions, and they are a lot of interim positions, unusually high, the use of interims. And there have been concerns raised to me that in some instances, people with no minimum qualifications are put into these interim positions. They get the minimum qualification, and then the recruitment goes out, and then they end up getting the job when there are people that have been with the university for years and have the minimum qualifications are bypassed. That's one of the concerns. The other is you've used interim positions for years. Is there a reason why they don't get? I mean, I have the list right here of those that will be expiring this year and some that expired, which means it's going to be vacant. And they've been in like, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years as an interim. Why wouldn't you make them permanent? And there's been a lot of movement of these positions. Okay, go ahead.
Why not make them permanent?
We have to go through a recruitment process to make it permanent. That's the.
But so for instance, you have one interim academic affairs program officer, interim since 2020.
Not sure who that one is. But if you'd like to,
Got interim for VP for student success and associate since 2016.
VP for student. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Is this in one of the tables or this is the other?
It's what you folks said to me.
I don't have that with me today. Sorry.
Vacancies.
I mean,
So what?
I think Jan's office.
The second one that we sent updated.
yeah, the first one you said didn't give us much information to
Okay.
go. The
April
second
11.
one
No,
gave us the position.
ongoing interim appointments.
I have, okay, that's another thing.
With the status key.
I had to pull it out because what's interesting in what you sent me had no rhyme or reason on how you gave it to me. And what we ended up finding was that a number of them were double or triple the same number, but you have them on different pages. And I don't know if you purposely did that so that we have difficulty in reading this. But we ended up having to go out and find out that there's a number of positions, same number, but they occurred, they went back to the position. I don't know if the same person got it back again. And, you know, it's really difficult to read. And so we had to pull out all of those that show them as currently being interim.
How long do they have to be interim till you finally say, okay, we're going to open it up and recruit?
There's no set policy or firm timeframe.
Okay,
The appointments in general are 1-year appointments, so there is paperwork, there is an administrative effort that needs to be done to renew them every year. So there are some that naturally just don't, you know, they naturally expire.
so there's some since, there's one that I see since 2016.
What is your policy? Is that delegated to the president or is that have to go to the board? What are the distinctions among these interims? Because some of them are really long.
I mean,
So
mainly
the-
from Manoa.
Yeah, the interims are treated generally the same way as permanent, so to speak, in terms of who has authority to appoint.
Are these like these on this list that you gave us? How many are delegated to the president or chancellor? If it's
They're all
UH.
They're
delegated.
delegated unless they report to the board or to one of the board's direct reports, or their salary exceeds the maximum of the scale.
So what is the policy or procedure for you making them permanent? Are you going out to recruitment or are these?
Yeah, they would have to go to recruitment.
So none of these are in
There would
recruitment.
be a story in general for any specific one, which if you have specific questions, we could track down the.
Well,
hoops and
First of all,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you go to recruitment right off the bat? And I would imagine because you want somebody there right away. But while they're there, why wouldn't you go to a recruitment? Why wait? I mean, you put somebody in there, why wouldn't you open it up? Unless because you're trying to wait for that person to get the minimum qualifications if they don't have. But most of these do have the minimum qualifications. There's several that don't, but most of them do. So why wouldn't you do a recruitment? Why they're in the position?
So, each department makes their own determination to a large degree on whether they will,
No, but isn't these our EMs?
they're all EMs.
They're all EMs, right? So that's ultimately the president's appointment. No, somebody else
Mhm.
makes the appointment?
A good majority of them usually get appointed from a faculty position or an APT position, and they temporarily move into an interim administrator type position.
Hey, why don't we take on as an example? So position 89078.
Okay.
89078.
I think that's libraries, right?
Yeah, it is libraries.
So that's been interim since 2017.
Yes, the previous to that, it was from 2016, they went to 2017.
So it's just renewed.
Because, see, you have a hard time finding it, but the way you guys give it to us, is you guys don't sort it to us, so we can find things. You make us go through all of these groups. See, so they have somebody, I don't know if it's the same person.
Oh, they're still employed, but they're in another position.
No, that's the first one. Then it shows up again on page 7 of your report, Jan. It's on page 4 and on page 7. The same number, 89078. Okay, and on page 7, you show that same position being hired or being appointed on 10/2017.
Yeah.
And currently still in that position, and it supposedly expires on 6/30/2024. Now, this is the person that had no minimum qualifications when you put that person in there.
Okay, so that position number, let's say it's this position of associate librarian. So one person, that's Sally. Sally's in it for, 16 to 17. Sally leaves, Sally goes back to her,
Right?
faculty position,
Right?
and then
2 months
John.
later, 2 months later,
John goes in,
you appoint John,
appoint John.
but John has no minimum qualifications.
Because I think,
And there are people in that department that have the minimum qualification.
Yeah, by the reading of HR and the position description, that was their assessment, but in fact, this was and is a long-term senior person
Can you state?
that I would argue has the qualification. So there are some that
Okay,
could be a bit
But this is the
misleading.
information you gave us.
yes,
Yes, yes.
Wait, can you just state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael Bruno, Provost at UH Manoa.
it is my understanding, particularly, I'm glad you brought this one up, because it was brought to my attention, that in 2017, somebody appointed a person with no minimum qualifications, okay? And there were people in the department that would have want to have gotten to this position, but you couldn't go out for recruitment, so they couldn't. So you leave this person in there, And now this person has been in there for what, 17, 20, so 6 years, 7 years, 6 years? And it still didn't go to recruitment. Now I understand it is going to recruitment, but then now this person has the insight. This person got the minimum qualifications, and the people in the department who would want to go it feels that it's going to go to this person and that they're not being given a fair chance at this.
I'm aware of that. I'm watching that. Yes.
You're aware of that.
Yes, I am.
But is that, I mean, manipulating the system to put in somebody that you want, or I don't know. I mean, that's the concern that's being raised.
I will be guarding against that. That area of the university has been in upheaval for several years now.
What are we doing about it? You just leave this person there and,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I agree.
these are the
And
kinds
there
of
was a
things that are.
change in the leadership of that department over the last 3 or 4 years.
And, you know, we're not on the campus. I had no idea about this until it's brought to our attention, you know, which is why we asked for this.
Yeah.
This
No,
kind
it's a
of
fair, that's a
information.
very fair.
And then to find out that you have key people when we have vacancies all over that you're not going out for recruitment. You rather sit there and let people stay there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
I do want to say, and I'm only speaking for Manoa, the list as presented can be misleading. Of the people who are presently, in other words, 2024, there are less than 30 interims. Of those 30, by my reading, 10 of them will be appointed as permanent, not those individuals, but new people. 10 of them within the next 3 months.
Understand, but I'm just saying.
So
there's
we're making headway. It's just a long.
But there's been a pattern, and I asked for 7 years
Yes.
because there's a pattern
Yes.
that everybody else around here are trying to get people in permanent positions. You
Yeah.
guys are utilizing interim. I don't know why. I mean, there's suspect on your campus why you're doing it,
It's not a
which
good,
is brought to my attention.
it's not a good
Suspect.
practice.
So I'm not saying it's happening, but based on the numbers and what you show me, is you folks have been using interim positions and leaving it for years before going out
Yeah.
to recruitment. Why wouldn't you recruit it other than you don't want people within the university to get these positions?
Yeah. So I made a commitment to the staff senate and the faculty senate that we will have a search within a year of the interim appointment. That has
Going
been
forward.
the standard that we're trying to hold ourselves to. Sometimes there's a failed search. We haven't talked about that.
Understand?
And so the person has to continue. And sometimes it's simply the capacity of our staff to conduct these searches, especially when they're a high-level executive. You need, the searches become,
Well, my
quite
understanding is there's people in the department that get passed over. My understanding happens in the athletic department. And a lot of it is women. Women are being passed
I
over
can't speak to that.
because you put interim appointments.
Yeah.
And then you hire them. I'm just telling you, these are the
Yeah.
kind of complaints that come to me. And it's troubling. You know, we talk about Title IX, there's a lot of violations seem to be happening, but it's not being focused on.
Great.
So if you look at page, still table 11, what's the university doing with the monies for those positions that are vacant?
In general, if they're G-funded positions, we don't actually have enough G funds to fund our entire G-fund payroll.
So you just use that money for existing
Other
positions.
positions.
We have one on there about interim, not interim, the chancellor. And then you had them for like 2 days. On page 2, it says casual, position casual, interim chancellor, West Oahu, from 9/28/16 to 12/25/16. Then the very next line, casual, interim chancellor, 12/28/2016, 12/31/2016. 4 days, I don't sure what that is, West Oahu.
On the internet.
And they're all blank, it's like, there's no way, I don't know.
No, I just-
I don't know what that is.
On this interim report.
Yeah, so, I'm not sure of the details of why it was casual, but that was, the interim chancellor who served after Chancellor Freitas retired, and it was a retiree.
And then the other thing I noticed on this is that there are a lot of specialists in Hilo and West Oahu. They're getting interim appointments, but you're not supposed to even have specialist positions.
We haven't appointed any new specialists since the conversation with you, I think 2 sessions ago at Hilo and West Oahu.
Yeah,
So
but
those would have been previously, I believe.
Okay, while you're looking at that, can we go to the vacancy table? UH 100. It's our page 57. It's kind of toward the middle. It's priority number 268
is that
for you guys. Priority number,
This is table 11.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
268. You see it, Jan. Fiscal specialist. It's vacant since 2005. So that's
So it's
almost,
special funded. So that one has no general funds associated with it.
so why even keep the position?
I don't know what the history was of that being created. We could research that. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a step up from being a general fund position. It's better than being a non-permanent special funded position, a temporary special funded position. That would be the hardest to recruit for.
Yeah, but 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
We would have to find where it is. It's probably in a special funded operation.
It's kind of awkward.
I know you've got so many, but does anybody, your HR actually go through and see, which ones you really need,
to be,
kind of
cleaned up.
delete and clean it up?
So, I think each campus and then within each campus manages their position counts a little different.
Yeah, but I mean, if you at least ask each campus to do that on a regular basis, then you don't have all these lists that you don't know if you need it or not, and you have funds or not, and just clean it up so it's easier to manage.
Yeah.
So if
Okay, and then we noticed that you established a little more than 1,500 positions. It's page 85, because you have the ability to create your own positions without us, right? So it should be. Right?
established by Ops other than the state budget.
Yeah, and so that's Act, what is this, 3774. So you established almost a little more than 1,500 positions, but you have 1,100 positions vacant. So why not use the vacant positions instead of establishing new ones? What was the rationale?
So the table 12, if you look, most of those are non-general funds. So the creation of these positions are temporary, not permanent. So the other table, most of those were MOFA, general funded, and we still don't have permanent. So it would be called to establish a position that's general fund authorized. But then there's no general fund, right? That's why they're most of them probably dangerous. And they're permanent in the budget versus establishing special, if they're special funded. established MOF other than aid or other than general funds. And they are temporary. They're established.
So these are usually tied to, funding that expires. Typically. Or not, I shouldn't say typically. It is one common reason why things kind of just pop up. And so when the funding source goes away, then if they're in a permanent, a general funded position, right, then obviously that's it's not gonna work. So I believe
Because you got here,
some of these are based on kind of funding that goes ebbs and flows. So
what is that?
They're not MOF. They're not. general funds.
There's a couple.
right, they
In general. The vast majority.
yeah.
I can see if you have grants that, it would come and go,
Yeah.
right? So, but those would be mostly faculty positions and some specialists if you have them, but
Or they could
but
be
some
on
of the-
grant.
yeah, but some of these are like admin positions. So they come with the grants.
Right,
900 is what
administrative.
system,
Mm.
900 is
Mm.
systems, because you have a bunch in 900. Admin support that was just created in 2022, 2023. But then you have many of those that are vacant.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, like in general, it's usually, it usually ties to funding that is
There's-
not permanent.
There's no cap in you creating positions. So that seems like a lot.
So when you create a position, you're paying it out of your special fund.
If it's a B funded position, yeah, I mean, I think so. As well as the fringe.
It's in the general fund.
Right.
So it can be.
So if you create
the
position-
extramural, it could be special fund, revolving fund.
Right. And you folks are paying, right? Because S397 is no longer in that type of.
And then they get the interim funding.
Another funding, okay, so if it's general funds in some of these, where does that come from? I mean, you create the position and
That-
general fund.
There is a handful, and I'm not sure what those are. That's a good question.
Yeah. where does
But
that
I
fund-
think there, I mean, I'm looking, most pages have none, but there are some. So we can investigate that. I think page 3 has one,
It would be odd to have.
but they're there, so anyway.
Yeah, hello, Michael Ng, University Budget Director again. Typically, we don't want general funded of these unbudgeted positions. We will allow an exception if there's like a specific appropriation. So if you guys fund, give us money to do something, but if the act doesn't have counts, then we will create the count so that we can hire somebody. So sometimes that happens, right?
Can you just verify that then?
It's appropriate outside of the budget, like if it's an appropriation deal.
We can go back and verify, but that everybody, all our fiscal people are very reluctant. Like they ask me like, can we do this?
So that would make sense to me when you see that temporary or permanent. So like in the example for the A funded ones, they're still temporary. So that means they were not appropriated in the budget or they're specifically identified as non-permanent. And even though they have A funds sourced, it's still established as temporary position. Yeah, so that would be meaning that it wasn't created, the position itself was actually not in the budget. And if via an appropriation bill, it also didn't provide for a position count. Yeah.
Okay, if you can just go through the general funded ones and find
We'll
out.
verify. Thanks, sure.
Is there a border region policy on a cap?
For the creation of positions.
Yeah. So the university can just keep creating them.
In theory, yes.
kind of off the subject in the sense that you didn't provide us with a list, and maybe we didn't ask it this year, we asked it last year, of positions that people are living outside of a state. So I know there was a huge list last year. We talked about it. I don't know if there's any improvements.
Yeah, I don't-
on it, but can we get an update on that?
Okay, I can move on. Yep, to table 14, if anybody has. Okay, I noticed that there are 33 contracts that have an end date as until matters are resolved, and the oldest being from 2011. That's our page 119. What is that for?
But not in legal contracts.
Maybe the legal.
Oh. Yeah, these are the legal. Yeah. So these would be contracts for external legal support. So once you hire outside counsel, you keep them on until the matter is resolved.
Right. In the past, we've asked that it be given to us separately. So, yeah, because it's buried in all of this and it raises concerns.
So what is the one from 2011? It's, well, it's our, we may have different pages, but our page, it's table 14.
Oh, what's the entity? What
Right.
what is the entity identified? Contract.
Initiated in 2011.
It's UH 900. It's valued at almost 140,000.
So there's a result.
There's one,
Yeah, Kanobe, Martins, Olsen, and Bear.
oh yeah, so it's on
That's-
page
so
two,
That's a legal contract.
page 2, 612 to 2011.
Patent applications.
Yeah, there's only $5,000 left on that contract, right?
Yeah, but then the end date was awkward, so.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't close out the contracts, which I've
Yeah.
asked you guys about that. but-
Because it says you executed on 2012.
Thank you, Senators. Carrie Okinaga, VP Legal Affairs. So I think the one you're looking at is a patent contract. So Senator Kim, the list that we typically provide you has color coding. It is one of those RTRF funded, not tuition or NSF funded contracts that we view as doing, the cost of doing business. And it just happens that the patent dispute has been ongoing since then. But I can, triple check. On the ones that are tuition funded, I definitely have taken your good advice to heart in terms of trying to close out old contracts. Sometimes the matters just are ongoing, the need is ongoing. That's why that and talks about until matters resolved.
Yeah, I could-
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So on page 1 of your contracts, second to the bottom of the page 84, I guess. These buildings at South Ramp for HCC's Aero program. What are we leasing? I mean, we seem to have a lot of virtual programs going on that we have space, so why are we leasing
This is
space?
the airplane maintenance program at the airport, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So
And then
that's
you
the
have-
place to do that.
sublease space at 677 Alamo. This is the medical, we brought this up again and again. I mean, we can't find spaces for them somewhere within the university to rid ourselves of this $738,000
It's the.
lease each year. This is the Go Bond building, right? The Go Bond building. We're building a new clinical trials right next door, and we have no space with these.
CSD, Unified Health, and pharmacy, and psychiatry.
We can't find any place on the University of Hawaii campus. Nothing on the University of Hawaii. Well,
University of Hawaii.
yeah, University of Hawaii. I mean, we have space, right? I mean, we have space at West Oahu.
Yeah, these,
So again. And then we have a whole bunch about parking. On page 2, you have $122,000 non-student, non-credit student information management registration system for the offices of continuing education and training of the community colleges. What is that for?
this is the student information system for non-credit courses. So when we do other kinds of workforce training, that's distinct from the student information system that we use for credit courses and student.
And if that
courses.
every year it costs us $122,000.
This is the total, but
Then we have temporary.
but it's an ongoing expense.
We have a temporary classroom at Hawai'i Community College. We don't have. I know the pharmacy school is still only 50% enrollment at the pharmacy school. We don't have room at the pharmacy school. We got to put up more portables.
We get back to you on what that.
But
project
do you
is.
have a policy where you look within your inventory
do.
before they lease out?
We check.
For build out.
This is from 2013, so. Yeah. We'll look that one up.
Is it campus by campus, or do you have an inventory across the board system wide so that you can look at what's available? There's some buildings that aren't being used, that you can start looking at that.
Space utilization plan.
Yeah, yeah. So we're asking DAGs to do the same
There's
thing across the
an
board.
entry on page 87, or is that 5 pages in? At the very second to the last bottom, it says provide a capital program management system for the University of Hawaii. $268,000.
That's the e-builder that's used for monitoring our CIP program.
And is that a yearly?
Licensing. It's a software.
So can we then be able to see all the CIP projects and what process, where they're at on an ongoing basis?
I
can
believe,
that be put on-
yeah, I
that
believe
can put online?
e-builders is, that's that
Salesforce.
facilities condition that you had mentioned earlier or referenced earlier, that's out of the e-builders, right?
The sightlines? No,
That's
so
not-
this is an annual subscription. It is a project management software system. So, yes, it does track all of our CIP projects get tracked in the system.
Okay, so there should be no excuse why we don't know what's going on in student housing and any of the other CIP projects.
Once it becomes an active project, yes.
Is this online? Can I access it? Can the public access it?
Yeah.
It's not a public.
Or is there a portion of this that can be made public so we can see what the progress is on other or CIP projects?
We can provide you reports out of it.
Well, if we're paying for this kind of subscription and the information is available, why wouldn't we want to have that available?
Well, I mean,
And then just a
Yeah.
transparent.
this is, well, and it's an internal, I mean, it's an internal there's training, there's.
No, I'm saying a portion of it that can show us and the public all the CIP projects that we have ongoing and where is it? The
Status.
status.
We would have to create kind of that dashboard kind of a look, that's what you're thinking
Yeah.
of. That is not an out of the box feature, but we can work with the vendor to see if we can't try to create
Can
something.
you get back
Yeah.
to us on that?
Mhm.
We do, what I do personally is I look at the quarterly reports that Vice President Govea provides to the Board of Regents. And we have a public quarterly report on every active CIP project in the university.
That's over 5 million
And
in
that's about,
construction.
that's what I track personally.
But you gotta get on the list, because some projects are not on the list.
Yeah, like, no.
Student housing.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, we don't. Yeah, once it becomes an active project, but we have a threshold cutoff. I want to say maybe 250,000. Anything below that, we don't track it in the system.
Right.
It's-
Okay, so Jan, one thing I want to ask you is, and we've talked about this before, UH is not the only entity that has this issue of facility maintenance. And from DAGs to DOE, we see this issue. We don't maintain it properly. We're not managing the maintenance properly. It's waiting too long, and then it's only new construction. So I know you had suggested maybe some type of curriculum specifically for facility maintenance, so we can build capacity to manage our state county buildings over time.
Mhm.
So where are you with that in trying to get the university to establish that?
It's just, okay, so it's a idea in Jan's brain, right? It's not it's something that I concur with many people who are in the building maintenance industry, that we see a lack of talent or workforce in this area. And so it would be nice if
I know that West Oahu
Build something.
had a facilities management program, and it was like one of the more applied programs. I don't know where it is. It was several years ago when I was in
yeah.
renewable energy, but is it still ongoing or something like that, what the chair is talking about? And then start building it up in this whole internship program. You can have
Yeah.
a pathway.
Because even DAGs, they're looking at changing, well, they're transferring positions or changing positions from engineers to project managers.
Yep.
So,
It- Yeah, I don't know.
We do have an initiative at Manoa involving business architecture and engineering to look at it. It kind of started as construction managers, but Jan took the lead in working with industry also to understand their needs, and we're looking as much at project manager / construction manager.
but I'm not sure if you can kind of create more of a pipeline. So you have CTE, AA, and
Right,
bachelor's.
that would be
because
part of it.
You gotta have
I agree.
entry
I
level.
agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is that something that you guys can actually, I know that's not really your kuleana, but the maintenance part is your kuleana. So if you can be more proactive in maybe establishing that.
You could be the employer for interns
That's
to
right.
come in.
Well, that's actually why we asked her to, well, she volunteered because she is
Yeah.
passionate about this.
Well, I
But
thought
when
you-
she volunteered to work with the industry, because she actually employs these people. So she
Yeah, but
was
we-
the right person to have that.
Yeah, so whatever you guys could do HR1, you could do all kinds, but if you can just focus on this one and then work with the community colleges on CTE, AA.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me ask this. So is the projects that you run through RCUH, is it on here, contracts?
Track through eBuilder.
Through
It'd be
RCUH?
track it in eBuilder.
No, but you have what is that? An MOA is not considered a contract for you? How do you delegate a project to RCUH?
Be via an MOA.
And so that's not part of our list of contracts.
So I believe this list of contracts is not with CIP money. So, right?
So how do,
Or
I
is
guess the
this?
question is, how do we track
Yeah,
any of projects that you run through RCUH? We have no, if they're not reporting
yeah,
to us.
I guess we've,
Yes.
so we should have asked for a list of MOAs too then, I suppose. If that's,
Well, I don't think there's any CIP projects in any of these lists, right?
no, that's what I'm asking. Why? So because it's an MOA, you may not consider it a contract, which is why you didn't include it in the list.
No, I would. I would consider that a contract, but it's
Okay.
CIP, so there's no, we don't have, it's.
Okay, so is it on the CIP list then?
Is there a C, I don't think we,
No, is there a, is
Significant
projects from
operating.
at RCUH? Is it on the, track it
Yes.
in our CIP? Do we get that
Yes.
part of our CIP?
well,
Well, we can double check the instructions, but we thought it meant all contracts.
I don't,
Yeah, all kinds.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know, I don't think so. I don't think. So these, I don't know what the
Okay,
exact
we-
instructions are, but I don't think so. I don't think this is CIP funds.
Okay, we can send
Great.
another memo asking for the rest of the contracts.
We don't know. But if you can, when you give us, Janet, in the future, when you give us the CIPs, can you list which ones are with RCUH and which
Mhm.
ones are
Mhm,
university?
mhm. And to President's point, we do report the one active cancer center project to the board every quarter, the status.
And that's.
I think it's
only for-
with the
That's the
operating
only one,
costs.
yeah.
And that was the one that had mixed funding.
That's
Correct.
I should say operating and capital.
We'll ask about that because we can finish up this point.
So your RCUH contracts. Or,
For construction,
yeah, so
And,
it wouldn't be from the operating budget, it's all from your CIP budget.
yes.
Oh,
and it's in your CIP budget,
It's,
There's no CIP in here.
or is just whatever is service.
so I'm just saying in general, yeah, so,
Service
so part of the CIP requests, there may be projects that you would end up doing an MOA with RCUH.
No,
so the
So when
board,
do you engage RCUH for CIP?
if it's federal, if there's a mix of federal funds, then we generally have RCUH do
The federal fund
mix.
projects?
Yeah, because you can't make, right, you can't say if there's one contractor, 50% of the funds is federal funding, or maybe 70% of the funding is federal funding and 30% is state.
But you
You
did
can't-
West Oahu didn't have federal funds in West Oahu.
that's,
Oh, I don't know.
and
about
we have
West
a new
Oahu.
policy that predates all of us, but the current policy requires those to go to the Board of Regents.
Okay, so money's not even in the budget, is what you would end up contracting RCUH.
Well,
If it's
so
federal.
the issue with the project at the cancer center is that federal funds were appropriated first. Then
State fund.
CIP funds were appropriated. This was Senator Harimoto's kind of passion. And then more federal funds were appropriated. So in order to have that as one contract and one contractor, that's why we used RCUH. And that's, again, the only current one and the only one I know of since my.
So how many current MOAs do you have with RCUH now? Just one.
But they go through RCUH, but it's your people they use, right?
For our project, for the combined
Campus center,
project,
yeah.
we use our project managers.
Right.
Yes.
So you just, it's just a conduit, right? Technically, it's a conduit that you use RCUH for
Yeah.
their exemptions and
Yeah.
stuff. But that's,
Well, we routinely run federal funds through RCUH.
yeah, we know that, but. we don't usually run
And there's federal
construction.
construction projects too that are federally funded
Right.
that don't even, and those aren't run through. Well, not a lot are run through. this.
So Calvert, where do special fund monies come from? Is it,
Oh, you would.
are you using the tuition money or?
Yeah, so there's a number of special funds within the university. All of them have statutory authority and creation. All special funds and all revolving funds have different sources of monies that are not general fund appropriation. So tuition is the biggest example at the university. Tuition and fee, there is a special fund, tuition and fees special fund, TFSF. And that is all of the academic revenue generated by the university. So tuition, when students pay tuition, it goes into that special fund. When they pay for certain fees for certain services, that goes into that same special fund. Housing has a different revolving fund. Athletics has its own special fund. And there's others, library, parking. All of these are different special funds, and they generate their own monies with the purpose that those monies should pay for the operations of the special fund.
So, your special funds, they also pay for interim positions? How do you pay for your interim positions?
Depending on where that interim position is located, it can be paid for with special funds, but if that position happens to be a permanent general fund authorized position, it could also be sourced with general funds.
So not all your positions are authorized.
But as indicated on that other table, there are temporary positions that can be created. The university can create them. They will be created as temporary. They will not be general funded positions, so they would be special funded or extramurally funded.
Okay, but for special funds, where does that money usually come from? Positions?
So if we're talking about, there is a tuition and fee special fund. So the source of revenue to that is tuition revenues, fee revenues would go into that fund. But in the case of, say, housing, that revolving fund, the source of monies is the rental income for students that are residing in student housing.
What about you? Do you use money that are from the vacant positions?
I would say the general practice should not be that you can use general funds to supplant positions in special.
Yeah, but that statement doesn't mean it's not happening.
That's why I said in the general, yeah, that's why I said, yeah. The
Yeah,
general.
so do you have an amount of how many positions are vacant positions are being used, the funds are being used for other things? Right? But I want to know the dollar amount.
Yeah, I would have to check, but I would be pretty confident that any vacant general funded positions that are vacant, the savings is that those funds are actually being used for other general funded positions.
John, you're saying they gotta be self.
Can you give us a general idea of how much of those savings did you have each month? A position is vacant. So like based on what we have now, the vacancy. So I have to assume that most of them, if they don't get funded, will be vacant this month and will be vacant next month. So can you kind of based on what your vacancy is, give us an idea what that savings are?
I mean, we could do the math on it, but most of the positions that are on that other table, the vacancy table, they're vacant. And they also don't have a general fund appropriation for them, so there's no salary savings.
But the ones that do have, should be easier for you to be able to do that. Show us what that savings are, because then it's, like you said, you're utilizing it for whether to give raises, whether to, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the university doesn't lapse general funds on the operating side. So they are being spent somewhere.
Right, and that's what we want to know, where they're being spent.
Do you know how many temporary positions you have and how long they've been temporary?
That was in that table.
I didn't see a table.
Special funding?
No, just temporary positions and how long they've been temporary. Could you provide us a list?
Definitely, you can provide your accounts for the number of temporary positions.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is if they're temporary positions, how are they funded and how long they've been temporary? So,
This is fun.
Also, how does how do you prioritize, which, when you have interim positions, when they will become permanent positions and how they're funded? My other question then is, what is your, do you have Title IX, outstanding Title IX violations?
Outstanding violations.
Title IX violations?
No, I don't think we closed, Mano closed out there.
Yeah, we have a VRA with the federal government that predates, goes back to.
So
before I was
at-
president.
Yeah, so right now there are no Title IX violations.
None that I'm aware of.
We have people can file complaints. So I'm not sure if that, but that's, I think, no, that's different, right?
Yeah, no, I'm specifically talking about Title IX violations.
Regulatory standpoint.
Yes,
So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I had a question about table 19. So you have one bill, I guess. What's the long-term plan? Is that every year we're gonna just keep coming up with that new bill to increase the cigarette tax to pay for this?
So this bill is to increase cigarette tax by proposed 2 cents. We have that additional 2 cents go to the cancer center special fund for the cancer center operations. Currently, the cigarette tax, I believe, is 16 cents, of which 2 cents of the 16 cents goes to the cancer center special fund. So this bill would increase it from 16 to 18 cents. And where it's currently 2 cents going to the cancer center special fund, it would be 4 cents. The level of the amount goes back to when the cigarette tax allocation to the cancer center special fund was initially established around the start of the millennium. The rate of revenue that was forecasted had a certain longevity that was anticipated or planned to fund a number of things. That rate of revenue has actually declined because of the reduction or the reduced use of our consumption of cigarettes or whatever the source of that tax revenue. So to increase it to 2 cents, it would put it back to where the level of revenue was forecasted or anticipated to be at this time.
But it was a university that came up with that formula, and the university didn't factor in the fact that people wouldn't smoke.
Yeah, or probably the rate of the reduction over time.
Right, on that. So what happens? You go up 2 cents and then 3 years from now it drops again.
Yeah.
Then what you gonna keep raising it?
Yeah, so, well, I don't know what the university, the state, or the cancer center would propose under that scenario, but there are a number of options in terms of having that would need to be explored in terms of financial and at least fiscal sustainability.
So
This is one approach.
right now, the tax coming out of that is approximately close to $10 million.
I think that's,
Just under $10 million.
it does vary, but
Right.
it has been between.
And the receipts right now for the cancer center is almost 15 million. So it's about $5 million short every year.
Yes.
That sounds high to me, but we can double check.
That's what the numbers show. Cigarette tobacco tax, at the report you guys gave to me, or gave to us, that you have to report every year, which we asked for in our initial response, and you guys didn't provide it. It came through this, which is of concern. However, how have you been making up that 15 million? Through the tuition revolving fund? You've been using tuition dollars, right?
The cancer center does get, some, general fund appropriation.
About 5 million, right? If I recall correctly.
That sounds, yeah.
And they have no students, but I mean, it's talked about that before, but they get 5 million to make up for this shortfall.
And I believe they also do get some campus funding, which would be tuition. I guess I would actually.
So it's already in the red. And yet you folks haven't been embarking on the early phase clinical trials, which I've been saying, and the Board of Regents report that came out in 2022, that all the forecasts, everything that was brought forth was a little aggressive, overly emphasized. So my question would have been to the board chair, and I guess to you guys, as to what are we doing about it? Because I asked again for a financial plan, and all I got is a narrative from the Cancer Center director. No financial plan, no budget.
Senator, we did commit to get that to you within 6 months from that last request, and we will honor that.
Okay, but this has been ongoing. I've been asking this for years, 2 years now. The county, and we keep getting numbers that is not accurate. And I've met with Dr. Ueno, and I've raised his concerns with him as well. And I'm told there's a plan, but it's not finalized. But how do we embark upon now 18 million? It was 13 million dollar CIP project to build a early clinical trials, which the regents approved. How do we do that? And told that it's on time, it's on budget. And then we have to ask for $6 more million because it wasn't on budget and on time, which is only going to give us about 65 to 70% of the original plan, of which the original financial plan was based on. That doesn't make sense. How do we embark on that kind of investment when we don't even have a business financial plan? Is that sound planning? And we don't even go ahead and do our dormitories that have been vacant for 7 years. How does that happen?
So thank you very much for the question. I'm Naoto Ueno, the director of the University of Hawaii Cancer Center. The budget has been, the business plan has been created. It took longer than I expected because it is important to have a third-party vetting. And we had 2 outside.
But you had a business plan to begin with, which is how this program started. So
that is
it's starting from scratch.
Well, it's not scratch, but I have to really make sure, as you pointed out, that we need to look at every component of the what's written there is how true it is. And also we have to look into the models. The other is to make sure that there are other outside consultant, whatever we are doing, is it correct or not correct? And the other component is the healthcare system. As you know, that we have Hawaii Cancer Consortium with Poor Healthcare, and there is a commitment particularly from the 2 healthcare system, HPH and Queens, to make this early phase clinical cancer research center to be successful.
Okay, my understanding is their commitment was 2.5 million over 5 years, each one, which is a drop in a bucket in all. When I talk to all cancer center consultants and people, that's not a whole lot of money. And yet I keep asking, where's the commitment in writing? We have none. Have you got it in writing?
2.5 million is already existing as a commitment. And
do we have that in writing?
Well, it's in our basically bank account, actually.
Well, we have the one initial 2.5, but there was another that said they would give 2.5 each per 5 years. I can show you that business plan.
I would love to see, and I have the business plan, which is getting through the UH Manoa, and it will be quickly, well, when I say quickly, within this 1 or
The
2
business
weeks.
plan that was submitted to me.
Well, I will have to really come as a new person to go over in detail because the key is to make sure that early phase clinical research cancer center is not about the UH Manoa, but it's actually the entire community. It needs to be really has an impact to it. So I'm trying to make sure that this is not simply about just treating certain type of advanced disease. It's about future development, working with pharmaceutical companies. And actually, my situation is since I came, we have many companies, even the trials has not gone through the system because we have, unfortunately, not a robust clinical research operation process. So if you ask me, is your pharma already committed to bring in large cash flow? The answer is yes. And I'm actually facing this situation. How do I make this more efficient? And that's what we've been working over the course of past year.
Okay, what's the timeline though for that?
The plan within 1 month.
Yes. I'm doing my diligence. I was requested to dissect everything. So I did my dissection of every component.
Yeah, when you're saying it's going through Manoa now.
Well, Manoa has the number.
All of us will be looking.
Look at it.
We want to
Yes.
make sure that
You're on the
everybody
same
is
page.
watching.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right. So I'm sorry that it took a while, but
He has a draft, but we would rather share something that has been fully vetted, including by the healthcare systems.
So there is a timeline, in terms of, I know there's phasing up. But in terms of what you do in the interim, how you make the best use of your building so that you can actually stand up this system.
that
What
is
that
correct, because of course, there's a way in my brain, the cancer center operation, I'm happy that people are not smoking, okay? I don't like what I see as a cigarette tax going down, but that's what we do. We have to reduce the number of tax. If it goes down more, in my mind, I don't like it, but I'm very happy that we're doing our job. And that's an issue. Yes, we do need to talk and we do need to work together. But as I promised, the question is, how can I make this early phase sustainable and also impactful, not just to the economy of medical tourism, but even all the schools, because this will require a very high qualified, education background. And there are Manoa school that we could really like to mobilize to bring more of a matrix approach. And that's probably the biggest difference that I've been working on since I came on board, which is about a year ago. I haven't got fired, so that seems to be a good sign. So, yes. So I promise I will be transparent. I will do my diligence. I apologize that there's a delay, but yes, Senator Kim and everybody, I would love to go all the details that we have created together.
So you are looking at options in addition to, or if the tobacco tax does go down, you're looking at how you sustain.
Yes,
Other than.
right. Ultimately, it's about the whole total cash flow that early phase provide.
Okay, so
What-
maybe when you guys are done with that report, we can have another briefing.
Yes, happy to do so.
Can
Because
I just answer Senator Delacruz's question from earlier? So this is not the request for the cigarette tax noted in this table. This is not like every year will come back to norm. So it has, Senator Kim noted the decline. It's now more than 15 years or so. So we're coming back once, and I wouldn't expect we would use the same solution again.
Okay, so when it's done, you said 1 month.
Yes.
Yes,
So again, we're looking at the sustainability of this
The early
program.
phase.
yes,
clinical
absolutely.
Because the tobacco tax increase, if it goes forward, will be for the negative for the cancer center already, which
it's the-
is separate and above from the early clinical trials, of which you're already building a building, that we don't even know we can sustain it.
Well, I mean, I'm quite optimistic. I mean, not optimistic, but
Well,
I have a good plan is a better way of the
But
word
let
I
me just
like to
state
use.
this for, I was in Washington DC recently, and I do my homework, and I talk with consultants. And from somebody very reputable, comment says, clinical research does not break even, not even self-sustaining. Johns Hopkins loses millions a year. It depends on wealthy donors, pharmaceutical companies, and they do contracts in support of individual patients using experimental drugs up to $20,000 for 6 to 9 months. So
Wow.
the kinds of reports that you folks have been giving me has not been clear on this. It shows it into perpetuity. They're saying 100 patients is a small program. Pharmas don't really want to work with small programs. They want big players. So I hope you're considering all of this stuff
Yes,
into your
absolutely.
plan, because, your predecessor insisted that his plan, was very, yeah, and well, that, that it wasn't overstated, and yet we had the Board of Regents do a report in 2022 that states that it's, those numbers were insufficient, the.
I would like to
Consultant
kind of
numbers.
explain the difference. This is not about clinical research. We are talking about early phase embedded in the standard of care.
Early phase clinical research center, right?
Well, I'm talking about the cash flow, and currently we will go in details per patient reimbursement. If this is really a smaller study, absolutely, yes, there is a great financial concern. But that
Okay.
is not the type of study we're trying to do.
Once we get the report, then we can probably
Yes,
get more in depth. And then at least we have a document to go over.
yes,
and-
correct.
The question, are you hiring physicians right now?
I am building a disease expert,
Question is, are you hiring these
Well,
physicians
so
for
there
the
are-
clinical trial?
right? Well, so there are two different model of,
Okay, but are you currently trying to hire physicians for the early clinical trials? Yes or no?
yes.
Okay, where would these funds come from if they come on board?
Well, there's a commitment from the health system.
Okay.
So-
we can get that. I just wanted to get that.
They have actually provided us 0.5 FTE from Queens, 0.4 FTE from HPH, and we have been bidding in
And they're
terms
paying
of,
for it. They're paying.
they're
general
paying
funds,
for
right?
it. They
No
they
general
are,
No general fund dollars.
no,
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to just go back to table 14. And it's our page 127. 1, 2, 3. It's the 5th line.
First page.
Yeah, I think it's 127 the first page?
EBSCO.
No, the UH Foundation. It's a 4.5 million, max value $9 million. Outstanding balance 4.5.
Sorry, where are you?
Page 127.
Table 14
Table 14.
to UH Foundation.
What is it?
It's the 5th, oh, 10th page on table 14.
Oh, okay.
UH what? UH.
UH Foundation.
Oh, this is the MOU between UH and the UH Foundation for fundraising services consistent with statutory authority.
Okay,
this
so
is
we pay
the-
them 9 million
the-
and they bring in.
This is last year they brought in over 100 million. The 9 million is a 3-year, I believe that's a 3-year agreement. Yeah, so we pay it in, I think quarterly increments or half semi-annual.
So what do? They present to the Board of Regents, progress report of what they,
They employ the fundraising staff who raise the money in collaboration with deans, chancellors.
And they do provide quarterly reports.
oh, to the
To the
Regents.
Board of
For the
Regents.
regions, as well as they have an independent report. So they present quarterly to the board of Regents, their progress throughout the year on fundraising. uh, and their operations.
So what's the breakdown of the 9 million?
That's a 3-year amount. So. Maximum allowable per year is 3 million.
Okay. So what's the breakdown of the 3 million annually?
How it gets used.
Yeah.
So, so it represents, about 30% or so of the operating budget of the foundation.
That's correct. About 20,
You can state
25.
your name.
My name is John Hahn, University of Hawaii Foundation, CEO and Chief Operating Officer. The $3 million, I believe that was put into place to support the foundation from special funds and tuition funds of capped at
So
3.
how do you spend illicit bodies?
How do you spend?
How do we spend it? We spend that to support development, operation development, or in fundraising activities
So staffing or programming?
for both. So it
Their
is,
total operations exceeds. They use the.
It's part of their standard operating budget.
What's your total budget?
it is around 16 to 17 million dollars.
So for every donation you get, you have a fee, right, that you folks
That's
take?
correct.
You take what, 5%?
Yes,
You take 5%,
yes,
and then you get the 3 million from the state.
yes,
And that's how
From
you
the-
run, and that's how you run the programs.
yes.
Is that correct?
Is that all the funds you get for operations? Just the 5% cut and then the 3 million? Or are there things in
No,
addition?
there are other revenue generating activities. We do have what we call floats of funds that are available. We do invest some of that money and we get the investment returns that we use to support our operation.
This is also part of the report that the foundation provides to the Board of Regents. I think this is part of the.
Yes.
So you normally invest in what?
Invest in for those funds available in treasuries and bonds.
And you generate how much annually from that?
Around from that particular around $3 million. And it does fluctuate depending on the market conditions. And the other source of fund is on the management and administration of the endowment.
So when the,
This is not general.
right,
The statute doesn't allow for.
well, when the chair, we asked a question regarding the foundation. In all phases of construction for the Culinary Institute of the Pacific, please provide list of private donations, the amount donated, conditions of the donation, whether or not these conditions were satisfied. The foundation refused to answer. They said it's private, they don't need to answer, but you're getting state funds, so you have to answer.
Senator Kim, I wish we could provide that information to you, but based on for the respect of the donors who are funding.
If they say that they want it anonymous, then yes, but if they don't say it's anonymous, then it should be transparent. If they're giving money and they didn't say they want it anonymous, then it should be transparent. And if they're making donations to the culinary school and they want something named after them, or they want a classroom and so forth, then that should be transparent. You shouldn't be keeping that information. Then don't take our state funding. So can we expect a report on that?
Tim Dolan, the head of UH Foundation. To answer your question, Senator, directly, Anything that's private in terms of gifts to that CIP project, we wouldn't have any issue offering information on that. I believe,
That's what we asked.
yeah, I believe the question as it was phrased was a little bit ambiguous in that regard, but you know, we're happy to look at it, and if we can provide that information, we will.
Okay, because it says in all phases of construction of the Culinary Institute, please provide a list of the private donations is clear.
And I think the reason for that, if I may, it was because some of the donors would not wish to would be named.
Right.
Some of the ones,
them are unhappy that they didn't get what they gave the money for.
yeah,
And that's what we want to know, because they didn't receive, they wanted a certain thing built and they weren't informed, they were told later, and that results in them not wanting to give again.
yeah. We're happy to look at the donors that that you're referencing that have a public interest in being allowed to be named. We're happy to look at that and report back.
I hope in the future you guys will call us and ask what to clarify, instead of giving us a blanket statement that, you know, or legal issues that why you can't give us that information. That's really not acceptable.
Well, you could just give a breakdown and redact specific donors, right? That's it, we don't want to be anonymous.
Sure, we could include the ones that are public.
But you can still give us the amount that people gave.
If it's public, yes, we could.
So does the foundation fund with these funds, do you fund benefits like, you know, like in the case of the president? I think Board of Regents had a meeting, a committee meeting. They talked about social clubs and so forth. And so the foundation provides those benefits?
That's correct.
Correct.
That's
And is that-
the letter of employment to myself and previous.
And that's
contracts.
something that gets filed with RRA as part of your income, is that?
Correct.
Yes. So I guess the question then is, do you provide that to other, outside of the president? Do you provide that kind of benefits to any other UH employees?
I think there's a small number. I think the provost is on that list, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look at the
others, if I can, the others have access to funds that are donated for discretionary use. So there are donors who will provide funds for the discretion of the dean of X or the Manoa campus. So the provost has access. If it's discretionary to the Manoa campus, then the provost has.
Can we get a list of these employees that are receiving over and above the salaries that we pay in general funds as benefits? I'm not saying that it's not allowed, but I think that should be, we should be aware of it. And what they're for, like, are they for social clubs? Are we paying their fees? Are we paying the initiation fee? And is this being reported as income? One, and two, does that membership then get transferred to the new person, or do they take it with them?
Sure, absolutely. We can compile a list and get that to you.
Okay. So are we paying for other employees' social clubs memberships?
Other than what was already stated, not that I'm aware of, but I can go back and double check.
Can you state that? We are paying, right?
Yeah, there is a small list, but I don't want to give you inaccurate information, so.
But there is a list, and I'm surprised you're not aware of it.
No, I'm sorry if I misspoke. Other than what was already mentioned by President Lassner and Vice President Dolan, I'm not aware of any other names, so I will
No,
provide
that
the
wasn't the
list.
question. The question is, are we paying these short lists of social membership to like clubs like Wai'alae, Pacific Club? Are we paying those? I mean, I know it's in the president's contract, so but I'm not talking about his. I'm talking about others that is not part of their contract, whether or not it's been above board, and whether or not this is something that the ethics commission have even opined on.
Yeah. Well,
Because that's the same question I'm going to ask RCUH.
Sure.
On the revolving funds, whether or not it is paying for these club memberships.
I know for a fact that we do not pay any dues or memberships to Wai'alae. I also know that if you were to go to the Pacific Club on any given day, we would have a long list of deans, and chancellors and,
It's not the question. The question is whether or not we're paying the initiation fees and whether or not we paid the membership
yeah. And
monthly.
so we're happy to get you what we can get you that in that regard.
Okay, and whether or not it's been, they get a 1099 or whatever it is at the end of the year to show that they got that, because it is considered income at some point.
Yes, we do issue 99 for those individuals.
Yeah, so we should be able to get that list. Okay.
I just had a couple questions about, and you don't have to answer now. I'll send a memo and you can, if you can just complete table 22 and provide us the position numbers. And this is not you guys.
Telework.
Yeah, the position numbers. And then if you can at least complete the column that says the reason.
What's the reason?
The reason.
Not that just
Meaning,
authorized, what?
And why are they asking?
so
So you can feel,
I
you can
mean,
just,
most employee, this is something, you know, to the question about difficulty in recruiting. I mean, employees today, the number from Forbes that I saw was 98% of employees want to work from home some of the time.
okay, so just if they can fill it out accurately
As
as to
employee
why,
request, would
Yeah.
that be suitable?
Oh.
Okay,
if that's what they asked for.
yeah,
I mean, people have different reasons.
yeah, okay.
But then going back to, oh, wait.
Just to add to that, what we're looking at in terms of telework is it is an incentive, but how do we standardize it? So you've got, you don't have that whipsaw effect,
Consistency.
but
We have
also,
a policy that we developed.
so there's at least
during COVID that
consistent
still-
with the whole university.
Fine.
And performance, some kind of performance assessment so that we see accountability. Thank you.
And how does that work, I guess, with Jan, in the sense with hoteling? Jan,
Christian.
You fly in the back.
so shared space. So as you look at because that's on some of the discussions we're having with other departments, is shared space because of telework. How are you incorporating that?
So from a institutional standpoint, we do have in our policy that if you participate in the telework programs, there is an acknowledgement that you will, that your traditional space may be reassigned or repurposed. So that's incorporated into our policy. And then from there, we primarily rely on our managers to identify when it makes sense to start consolidating or repurposing space. Just within my own area, I can tell you we do hoteling space so that we can accommodate more density in an area. It is a principle that the board has adopted, and it is part of what we evaluate when we put together a CIP program and a request that we incorporate principles of shared space, interdisciplinary use, this idea of, that's the math classroom. It's not the math classroom, it's general use. So it applies across office space, classroom space, even research space. It's tied to the amount of funding that you have. So
Have you assessed how you reconfigure space so that, we may have a conference room, or I don't know, in research lab might be different, but so that you can have the hoteling, but it's in a way that makes sense and
Yes.
it's effective and efficient and not just saying, okay, we're going to take your space away because you're not here. So you
The,
have something like that, a plan in terms of how you would.
we do, we have we have as our kind of our standard design, a standard design for, you know, in our classrooms or office spaces. Most of them, or our standard starts off with being modular, flexible, not floor to ceiling walls and built-in desks or, you know, credenzas. Everything is on wheels, everything you can move around. But there are instances where, you know, our employees don't support that. And so sometimes we accommodate deviations from the adaptable, flexible, shared space approach.
But you're gonna be able to show over time, because it seems like it's not gonna go away like the, you know, and it seems it's part of how we do business. But we don't necessarily see that translated with space yet.
I think
And so that's where I'm
in
looking
most
at-
cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you,
I mean,
I mean, we can't just keep both at status quo, right?
Yes.
Growing telework and then at the same time leaving everybody with committed
Yes.
space. So
Yes,
how does that, how do you,
yeah.
when are we gonna
Yeah.
see some transition or a plan to minimize?
Mm,
As this other list grows, hopefully your space requirements are gonna shrink.
Right,
Plus, and we're still leasing space. UH is leasing space. As long as we're leasing space, we need to find places. right? Can I just specifically on this one? On page
Anyway, if you can send that,
one, three,
A plan.
four
Okay.
of table 22. You have an admin fiscal support specialist. Is this a specialist?
what page is that, sir?
It's well, it's like
Table what?
same table, 22. It's 4 pages into the 4th page. It's page 134 on there it is. It's about 10 down. Admin fiscal support. They're on telework days 4.9, meaning almost entirely.
Yeah, you guys got lots of weird 0.2, 0.4, 0.19.
What we did is we aggregated over the course of a year.
Oh, look.
We weren't sure how to. So
It
it's
says
the average,
number of telework days a week.
right?
So
So that's
0.4
average,
days a week.
Oh, you did it by position type,
correct.
not specific employee.
No, this isn't by employee. So that means on average over the year,
Oh, so every year they took different amount of days. Every week they took different amount of days.
yes. It's not a set.
Oh, some departments,
yeah,
they say, okay, gotta be
They take-
these 2 days.
Right, 2
Some
days.
departments is the opposite. It can't be these 2 days.
Right.
But this list includes people that may have telework literally for like 2 days in the course of 12 months. So that's why the numbers, you know, can be very small.
So you don't have an agreement because the guidelines, I don't know if you follow the guidelines from the state,
You
but
have
it
their
has an
own-
application and then it says,
But
this is
but
how
what
I
what I
agree.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
this,
Yes.
it's not that what we conventionally think of is that an employee is approved to telework so that every Tuesday and Thursday from today until the end of the year, every Tuesday and Thursday they're teleworking. This list could include, well, does include, it does include employees that may have only telework, you know, May 13th through the 15th, you know, but that's why the numbers
Okay,
get.
but you know that that's not what we really want to see. We want to see what your general plan is. So you should do asterisks, or you should explain stuff. If you don't want to sit here for hours answering some of these questions, if you guys give us better ways of seeing this and what it includes, then we don't have to.
Is this an actual?
I think we're
this is
being
act-
transparent in the request. I mean, we're very comprehensive in this.
Well, except when you say reason for work, telework authorized pursue, telework authorized pursue,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah,
transparent.
the last 2 columns are not as specific.
So if you give us better, then we don't sit here and have to
Yeah,
quiz you on it. So this one I'm asking on, this person is almost for the whole year is gone. Literally not even one day a week in the office, according to your 4.09 point. So what does that position do?
So Manoa,
Yeah,
this is
we
rate
don't-
100.
we would have to look at it to see exactly. what it
Fiscal
is.
support is a specialist.
Yeah,
So this is, yeah, so, I mean, this is, the thing that I could glean from this is, it is Manoa. It's
I
a
can't believe
temporary
that.
position. It's a special funded MOFB. But I couldn't tell you, and I don't think provost would even be able to say where this position is.
We could track back.
Okay, but yeah, we don't even have the reason why, other than authorized, so just.
And then what is you have quarterly telework evaluation. Right, and then you have in other areas, performance appraisal system. So,
Yeah, okay, so we have two telework policies that apply at the University of Hawaii. So for bargaining units 1, 2, 3, and 4, what we define as our terminology is civil service. Those positions fall under the deferred telework policy. And for bargaining units 7 and 8, those fall not under the deferred, and it's under a UH telework policy. So this report reports on the combined deferred and UH telework authorized work. And
so what does that mean, the system one?
so each policy has its own evaluation process and a form. So the deferred form,
The UH policy requires quarterly
yes,
evaluation.
I think the deferred one is once a year and the UH one is once a quarter,
What's a year?
I believe. I think it's I believe.
Most people have
I might be
weekly-
wrong, so don't, yeah.
Most people, most departments have weekly reports, but
And maybe it's weekly. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know.
It says quarterly though.
no, there's two. You know, there's quarterly and then there's this appraisal.
It's appraisal.
So she's saying the appraisal one may be annually. Anyway, you can get back to
Yeah.
us.
It's not, it's different from the performance review, right? Because you say, this is the project you have to complete. And then you say, did the person meet the deadline versus performance appraisal is once a year, it's
That's
kind of
what- that's
different,
what-
right?
Table
It's
11.
different than for this.
14, yeah, 11, yeah,
So
sorry.
maybe you can look at.
On 19,
Okay, table 11.
table 11, 19, it goes throughout you guys' whole vacancy. One of them, of course, is the Title IX says pending approval of fill. But then I look at a lot of you guys, security specialists or safety security specialists, the thing varies on top of there, but every single one says to be determined. So you guys have a lot of positions that is to be determined when it comes for safety on campus. Why is that? And it's more than just 5. It's just going on the one that I can see on table 19. It goes through you guys' whole vacancies
Well, table 19.
throughout. So it's table 14 on page 19.
Oh,
Um,
table 14 on
Yeah,
page
page
19.
19.
Okay.
From the bottom all the way to the top, you can like get 4 or 5 areas that says to the determine university security officer 1, to the determine security officer 2, I mean number 1. So the prices vary on there, and there's the one for the actual specialist. Prices are different, but what I'm getting at is that
Yeah.
what does that mean to be determined? Is that the funding or the money? Because this is a lot of security positions
Yeah.
that is not being filled, and I don't even know what campuses are this on.
Oh, is this?
Oh, it's University of Hawaii.
Contracts for.
Yeah, for
Security?
the University of Hawaii. This is
that what this
the Manoa campus, looks like.
Table 14?
Yeah, 11. Table
Okay, table 11, page 14.
Page 19.
Oh, page 19, table 11.
But the thing goes throughout the whole
Oh, yeah, right here.
table of 11. The applied
TBD.
vacancies on the security says to be determined.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Senator. I think we have a
I think they
different,
resorted it, but I think the general statement, we understand, we have plenty of.
Yeah, because it's under you guys, yes. Yeah,
So wait, your question is,
yeah, I mean, when
What's
is it
the
going,
date?
if we're talking about safety on campus and for the students, faculty and property, why do we have so much to be determined? It's not even filled. It says from Now, mind you now, this is from 12/1/2022 to be determined. University Security Officer 1.
TBD. Oh, yeah.
Same with the other one too, security, all of them is like 2022.
Chris, do you know what page?
So, sorry, you just go check them out. Let's go figure them out, how much, because I count
Oh, I
over
see
20
it.
of the security for vacancies that was vacant. This will be determined from 2020 to 2022.
It could be that they might be repurposing a security officer. I know they're doing that at the community college to a fire thing.
Okay, so that can be like for different campuses then.
So,
Oh,
well, this is 100, so this gotta be.
no, yeah. But I guess you guys can just community know because there's more than 10, 15 of that. I just wanted to know what would be the timeline not to be determined. You know, if there's a need for any of these officers to be with the budget, because the budget goes between 42,000 to 63,000 for the position.
Well, just note, they also have security contracts, private security contracts.
Oh, no.
I don't know at the other community colleges.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm a north, sorry.
But that
Manor.
that fills in for the.
We have a contract at Manora in the event, like, you know, those, the swing shift.
Yeah.
Hours, depending on our vacancy.
It doesn't specify that, but it just, if you guys can,
Okay.
just give us.
So wait, the contracts is because of the vacancies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have it on need basis. So that leads me to this question. Is there a consistent training for all security officers across the UH campus? So each campus are doing their own training?
Each campus does their own training.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have the same kind of training? Because there's some issues we encountered at the community college when we talked about the security training, where they go to, they have a training happens every so many times a year, where they actually spray pepper spray in their face, the way they hit them with batons, so that they know what it feels like. And so the legal issues, it's, you know, lawsuits waiting to happen, and I personally know of people getting injured on that. But you know, that's something that should be campus same across the board. That way you can transfer people to among campuses, right? If they are similarly trained.
Yeah, so for University of Hawaii, I'll give you an example. I took the test at Washington Intermediate School for the University of Hawaii Security Campus. The job qualification for in-house security for the university is observe and report. We don't carry baton, we don't carry pepper spray, we don't carry a taser, and we're not law enforcement. We're just security to call HPD or law enforcement if we need assistance. But this is what Senator Kim is doing, is taking it to a whole different level. And this is the university security now. This is not private security. It's the university security saying this at one of the community colleges, that you got to get kicked, tackled, armed down, pepper sprayed, tasered, and handcuffed. So to detain, to restrain and detain is not what is in the qualifications for University of Hawaii security, because they're not law enforcement. If that is law enforcement, then you guys got to change the pay and change the criteria, because they're not law enforcement. And I don't care what the manager or the security supervisor say. They're not law enforcement, they're security. And then not only the people that are gonna get hurt. Now I come to you now, and I cannot use my taser good, my pepper spray, or my baton. You use them and you kill me. What do you think the family gonna do? They're gonna sue the university and the state, because it said their criteria of being a security is to observe and report. Why was my mom holding one pepper spray? Why would my mom have a taser? You know, she's 96 years old. That's the kind of average of you guys security, not 96, sorry. I'm exaggerating, but they're up in age because they cannot do anything else but probably observe and report. That's the reason why either they retire or they come into a field that they can still work and be useful. But by doing this, you're making them unuseful because nobody in the sixties, and I'm 50, yeah, I'm about 50 years old, and I cannot do none of that anymore. And I come from a security background.
Then do it.
Yeah,
If we're
so
gonna-
that's what was concerning to me. That's the reason why I was asking what clarifications and what categorizing this is, because going forward, we don't want anybody, especially in security staff for the university, getting killed or beat up because they cannot use the gear properly. And then, think about it, when you come over there, and I always say this every time when I go to the university, what is the minimum force that you can use as a security? You guys know. Is your presence. That's the minimum that you can use. Why? Because you're in a uniform, nicely done, your badge, right, looking professional. That's your minimum force. Anything outside the scope is outside the scope of their duty. So you guys gotta, kind of clarify that, because some of the community colleges are doing this because they're doing training at Leeward Community College. And people got injured, wrist injury, knee injury. They're not gonna get tased, they're not gonna get pepper sprayed, but they did that. So that's what we wanna know. What is the blanket for in-house security for the university? What is their duties and what is the clarification of what they need to do?
The training.
Yeah, training.
Change. And of course,
Yeah.
each campus will have different things that they can
Also.
tailor it. But overall, what is the general training for all campuses?
Outline.
Yes, and the person that's doing the training, is that person being monitored and to see that it's appropriate for that particular type of training? Okay.
Yeah, no, is that,
No,
yeah,
you
so
guys-
this is it, chief, from our Manoa campus and.
No, but we're not talking that
Yeah,
campus.
yeah.
We're saying
You're-
system wide.
Overall school, yeah.
Right.
We should have
So,
consistency.
yeah, we don't, it's not structured that way
Yeah.
currently, and I think we can.
At least the
evaluate-
training,
Yeah,
the training.
Yeah, there gotta be some consistent across the board.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
on table 23, if you guys can just complete column L.
Wait, calm down.
So it could be grant money, federal funds, general fund, tuition fund.
Yeah, we have summary, but you want it by trip.
Yeah, it's just, you just fill in that one column.
Just
RCUH, if we can. Just identify yourself real quickly.
Good afternoon, Senators. Lenny Gobert, Executive Director, RCUH.
Thank you, Lenny. Just an update, first of all, just follow up. Executive MBA programs no longer being administered by RCUH. Okay?
To my knowledge, done. Yeah,
Done. Okay, good. Revolving accounts. Have we?
we're almost complete. There's a few exceptions that were approved by Vasilis, and he's aware, obviously, of where they're at and the extension date. I think Ship Ops is the one that's going to be out the longest till. Oh, and Mauna Kea, yeah, Mauna Kea during the transition.
The rest have been.
I think,
Thank you.
yeah, over about 2/3 of the accounts have been
Appreciate
transferred
you
over, yeah.
folks' work on that. The question that I'd asked Foundation, about, are you guys paying for any benefits?
Not to my knowledge. I do not believe that.
So none of the revolving, okay, well,
Now,
none of the revolving accounts paid for that.
it should not be, but, I'm not sure if we dug deep enough there, we could find something like that, but that would be, determined. I don't think Vasilis believes that there's anything like that. Do you have any? We're pretty sure no. The answer would be no. But it would be up to the FA and the PI or.
Okay.
I'm told that there was one, but it has been terminated.
I'm sorry,
I'm told that there was one, but it has been terminated.
has been terminated. Okay, well, I would like perhaps to get information as to prior to it being terminated,
Mhm.
as to the nature of whether or not whatever was expended, because obviously it was expended with university funds, because the revolving account are university funds and possibly even general funds.
Well, it
Because
depends, so we would have to
A lot of the
determine the
money that
source.
went into these revolving accounts came from the general fund that.
Not necessarily, Senator, but
Yeah, but in.
we'll check.
Yes, and so whether or not that fees or that membership was transportable, whether or not it was reported, so forth. So if you can get back to me on that.
We will do that.
I asked for a list of the top 30 highest paid positions.
Correct,
at
correct.
RCUH. So
Correct
thank you
positions,
for
yeah.
providing this.
Yep.
I had a question regarding the PACE director for Schuyler College of Business, Pacific Asian. How does that relate to research? Because these are all research, supposed to be research positions, right?
Research, training and development,
right.
yeah. So I would have to look that up. I don't think Glenn is aware of that, off the bat.
And then what funds, what kind of funds is paying for this? Is it research funds? And how do they qualify for that if it's not
We
research?
can look that up.
Also, we've talked about this, that you have been given broad latitude over the years under your mission and so forth. And we have introduced, and the Senate has passed a bill that's over in the House limiting that. So, and I know you folks didn't agree with everything. So in the meantime, knowing that we've had that bill and knowing that there may be another bill coming up this year, have you folks worked on what could you do to limit some of your
Absolutely, absolutely.
your
Yes.
duties and so forth and projects and
Yes.
power that you have to limit it so that it's something that will meet with what we're doing. We don't have to do a bill, or we don't have to cut more than what you think we need to do. So if you're being proactive on
Well, I
this.
represented to you, Senator, when I started that I'm transparent and I was going to look at everything and make the necessary changes. And we have been doing that, and that's across the board with my directors. And we have worked closely with Vasilis to collaborate to make the changes, many of the changes that you have suggested. And we're still in the process.
Deadline is coming up. And so if you have
Correct.
something that you have not shared with me as of now,
I can tell you that we've done
okay, can I?
extra efforts on it. And I personally have been looking at
But you haven't.
all the contracts.
Completed that with.
Well, I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, we can give you an update. Our strategic plan shows a lot of that. I can provide that to you. There's a lot of detail in there of all the bullet points and changes that we've made. We present that to our board quarterly, and we also put that into our yearly report. But I can put a packet together for you to show all of that so that you can have it ready and available.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you getting that to me as soon as.
Sure.
The study abroad program, does that have been stopped as well from being
To my knowledge, done, yeah.
done? Okay,
Correct.
that's another one done. And then finally, can you give us a list of how many state positions that is being run through RCUH?
Like DLNR.
Like DLNR?
You mean direct projects? Yeah,
Positions.
positions.
In the past, they have used RCUH to, when we don't give them positions.
Correct. So
DAR.
we can look that up.
Can you?
Yeah, we can pull that up, yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Finance Director Glenn Yee for RCUH. So you're talking about what we describe as direct projects with the state, in which we may hire RCUH employees to work on a particular state project. That's what you're talking about,
That
right?
and whether or not there's state employees that are being, I
No.
guess that would be.
Yeah, so it's in lieu of a state
Yeah,
employee.
that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I was saying, DAR.
So these would be direct projects that we
Yeah.
run for the state.
Yeah.
So the state gets federal money
Yeah,
to
forestry
do
might have
Department of
some.
Land work.
Yeah.
We hire these employees to work on this particular
I
project. Okay.
think what we're trying to distinguish from is sometimes state agencies issue actual extramural projects to UH. And then UH is hiring people to execute the work. that's distinct from what they're describing.
Correct.
Yeah, because
Yeah, so
Just wanna be
there's,
clear.
there's two though. There's short term and long term.
That's right.
Correct.
So DAR would be like long term. They've had RCUH.
Well, it depends on the funding here,
And
but
it's the employees actually work in the departments and
Yeah.
are supervised by the departments.
correct.
As opposed to being inside. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, if it's a federal program on
Yeah.
invasive species, but if the department is coming and saying, we didn't get this position and we need it done, and so we want to run it through RCUH.
Correct. I don't think we get any state funded individuals like that. I will check to be sure, but I'm almost certain that we do not have any of those.
You do, right? I know
Right.
governor's office.
Maybe in the past, yeah, but I don't think we've had anything like that in the recent past.
I think that's all that I have.
Okay, can I get a copy of the contract between UH West Oahu and the Dream House Eva Beach? Because that's on the contract tape.
This is the lead between the drivers. Yeah, we can get
Yeah,
that.
so if we can get that, and then I guess a contract or the MOA between UH West Oahu Nursing and UH Manoa.
MOA between you on nursing.
Yeah.
You want a copy of that?
Yeah, you can just send it. Okay, we'll follow.
Yeah, I think we'll wait to get the written
Yeah.
from your crack staff.
I need to just ask, I know you folks gave me a report on the MUTE program, but we did have a resolution that was passed. We were supposed to send in an official report. So have that been sent in? We could not find it. That's not you.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, sorry.
See the president on this. The
This is
MUTE,
which one?
the MUTE program.
I think we sent in the report.
No, you sent in response to my question, but did you send in the report in accordance with the resolution that requires reporting 20 days before?
Okay, we will.
Okay, yeah, because staff couldn't find it.
Okay.
Because we don't want to put it into a, let
Oh.
me just say, we don't want to put it into a law that you have to provide, these
Yeah.
products. It should be like paper towels and toilet paper. So, show us because there are students out there that want us to pass a law, so.
Senator Hashimoto.
Thanks, President. I wanted to ask a real quick question about, the expansion of your teacher cohort, right? And so I know the governor didn't request that, and I know you've been working on it for a while, but I think now that it wasn't included in the gov's proposal, I don't know, is there a way we can continue that expansion somehow with your existing, positions? Because I think there's some momentum that still needs to happen with that, right? Obviously, teacher shortage isn't getting better, but I'd hate to, and at least you asked for it this year. I know you asked for time to figure out the plan, and I think the plan's getting there. But I'd like to make sure that we can figure something out. And I don't know, you need to tell us what those positions are exactly and what that
Yeah.
625
I
is.
know everybody's
Right,
trying to
right,
get
right.
out of here, but the dean is here and actually when we were outside, I said, Nathan, are you ready to explain what the 6 positions will do exactly?
No, and then we
And
can
he
take
said,
that offline. I can talk to Nathan
Yeah,
myself, but I think the point is I want to make sure that from the president level,
Yes.
this continues to be
A
a
priority.
priority because we can't afford to lose any more time, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there's a couple follow-up items, but we can try to call either another quick. I don't know if you need the whole cast there, but we can, depending on what we follow up on, we can be specific and then you can bring
I
the.
want to ask athletics.
Oh.
Can you get athletics?
I have the finance person, but both of our athletic directors from Hilo and Manoa are at the NCAA national conferences right now.
Okay, when we come back.
But I mean,
We'll be.
depending on what it is, I
No,
may be
we'll
able.
schedule that when
Okay.
we come back, because they keep saying we're not paying attention to athletics.
So I haven't noticed that.
So then what we'll do, members, is we'll adjourn, we'll reschedule something for you, just so some quick follow-up things. And then we're gonna reschedule the DHERD and labor hearing to a later date, the 23rd, January 23rd. And then when we have the report of the cancer center, the business report. Yeah. And so we'll start DLNR at 1:45. So thank you.